Okay.
We are now
Leslie,
going live, Chair.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, members, and welcome to our virtual full council meeting. Today, I would remind you that this meeting is being webcast. Please ensure that you have your mics on muted unless you wish to speak or for voting purposes. Please be sure your mobile phones are on silent and that there are no other disturbances within your vicinity. Please use the chat box to speak, indicating speak or question. Please do not put messages on there, and there is no need to put your name either. After a few housekeeping rules, Mr. White will be the gatekeeper for today, so please can we have apologies, a number of members in attendance. Darryl, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. We have all 30 members on the call, Chair, so therefore no apologies have been given. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we start the meeting proper, members, I wish to pay tribute to one of our dear members, Councillor David May, who's unfortunately passed away a couple of weeks ago. And this morning, some of us attended, we couldn't go to his funeral, but we either went to Ivy Bridge and stood in the street and clapped, or some of you went to Ermington to where the church service was. And David was a much loved and respected member of his community, his family, and indeed of this council. And I don't think I can say any more than is already said about him. We held him in our high esteem and we will all miss him. He was a larger than life figure and he was much loved. And with that, I won't say any more, but we will have 1 minute's silence to remember him, and also the dear wife of one of our other councillors, Councillor Pennington, Kath Pennington, who passed away probably the best part of a month ago now. And I did go to Morldon and went to the service in the church about 2 weeks ago. It was the same day as the executive meeting at the beginning of December. So please, members, could you, for 1 minute, just remember these and any other people dear to you for a short time. Thank you. Thank you, members. We will now move on to the agenda. And item 1 is the minutes of the last meeting, which was held on the 24th of September 2020. Are you all in agreement that these minutes should be signed as a true and correct copy of that meeting?
Agreed.
Is anyone against?
There's nobody indicating they don't support those. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Item 2, urgent business. I have no items of urgent business to bring forward at this time. Item 3, exempt information. There should be no need to divide the agenda. Item 4, declarations of interest. Members, I invite you to declare any personal or disclosable pecuniary interest, and any declarations will need to state if the interest is personable or disclosable pecuniary and the nature of the interest. Members, do you have any interest to declare, please? No? No one has spoken or indicated that they wish to do so. So we'll move on to item 5, which is business brought forward by the chairman. I don't have any business brought forward, so we will move on to item 6, which is the COVID-19 recovery and renewal plan, which is on page 1 of separate circulation of the agenda. And I will ask the leader, Councillor Pearce, to introduce this report, please. Councillor Pearce.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, you will be aware that this recovery and renewal plan has been going backwards and forwards between overview and scrutiny, and indeed it started as a member workshop, overview and scrutiny, and the executive for some months now, and it's been in development, and so you're now seeing the refined and final version. There are some changes to it, which I'm about to explain, but I have to say that a lot of the work has been somewhat held up by the reoccurrence of the second wave and everything that that has meant as far as distributing grants and all the emergency things that we have to do when we're in lockdown and now sort of in a only semi-open tier, because there are still quite a lot of concerns in the area about businesses not being fully open and all the rest of it. So anyway, one of the actions generated through the recovery planning process was to develop a consultation and engagement strategy, which is also presented to Council for adoption, along with the recovery and renewal plan. And so when I finish speaking, I shall ask Councillor Hopwood to say a few words on it, as that's in her portfolio. The Council continues to play a key role alongside partners in both response and recovery to the short, medium and long-term impacts of the pandemic, and in the implementation of a range of essential support for individuals, the wider community and business. It's essential that the adopted plan focuses on the key work needed to support recovery across the district. In view of this, the plan has been refined, and where actions are better delivered through, for example, existing or emergency strategies or activity, they've been reallocated to allow the plan to focus on core recovery and renewal activity. So some actions, as I've just said, have gone to the new comms strategy, and some have gone to the climate change action plan. Details of members' priorities, which we propose to transfer to existing or emergency strategies, as I've just said, these are included in Appendix B to this document. I now ask Councillor Hopwood to say a few words on the comms part of this.
Thank you, Leader, for giving me the opportunity. I'm really pleased with the outcome of this strategy and thank the working group and officers for the work they put into it. This sets the foundations for how we communicate and consult with residents moving forward, and will be considered within pieces of work that this council does. The document is modern looking with good illustrations, and I thank Jason for his comic image of a person on the introduction page, which I'm sure he didn't mean to resemble my good self. So thank you for all the work that everybody put in, and I'm really pleased that this strategy is now, it will be embedded within the council.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce, and thank you, Councillor Hopwood. Members, do you have any questions, please? No, no one appears to have any questions. No, there's not. That's absolutely true. So therefore, Councillor Pearce, would you like to propose your motion, please? Your recommendation?
Yes, Chairman. I propose the recommendations at the top of this paper, namely that the COVID-19 recovery and renewal plan as attached at Appendix A and the consultation and engagement strategy and Year 1 delivery plan as attached at Appendix C be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. And do you have a seconder, please?
Seconded, Chairman.
Thank you. So we'll now open up the debate. If anyone wishes to have anything to say to form the debate, please. And if so, type debate in the Teams chat and we will take those members in turn.
Chair, Councillor O'Callaghan is first.
Right, Councillor O'Callaghan, please.
Yeah, thanks very much. It's just a quick comment on the consultation and engagement strategy. I just, you know, the last time I recall being at a meeting where we discussed consultation was regarding parking permits. I think it was the last executive meeting. And there was a long list of people who were consulted about parking permits, pretty much all of whom said they weren't happy about it. And so we did the exact opposite to what people had said. So I'm not convinced by our consultation and engagement strategy personally.
May I come back on that, please, Chairman?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you, Chairman. Consultation and engagement is a funny thing. If you consult with someone and that person, the consultation then comes out with findings that one person agrees with, but another person doesn't, that doesn't mean that you haven't consulted and engaged with everybody. What it means is that you have consulted, you've taken people's views on board, you definitely haven't dismissed any of the views, but because someone has a different view, it doesn't mean that you can put include their views within a piece of paper, within, for instance, the parking permit. So everybody who took part in the consultation for the parking permits, all their views were read, but then we took a view as a council moving forward, but we definitely consulted with everybody, and the outcome of the parking permitting review would have been no different before or after this paper. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Brazil, I believe you're next. Your comments, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, I welcome the recovery management plan, and delighted to see that we've now got timescales on it, which is absolutely crucial. However, I do still think it's missing targets, the old SMART targets in management speak. So there's a lot of things that we're proposing to do or already doing, but there's nothing to say whether we've achieved anything or what we are trying to achieve in the sense of empirical evidence that that we've helped this or helped that. So I still think there's quite a bit of work to do on that, because in the end, that is the way that we're going to tell whether this and scrutinise this recovery management, whether it's been a success or failure, is when we actually have performance indicators and targets that we can see whether we've achieved or not in the timescale as set out in this paper. Thank you. Thank
you. Who would like to come back on that one? Anyone would like to answer Councillor Brazil's comments?
Chairman, I'm happy to come on that one.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Brazil. I'm looking at a number of these actions and things and thinking that actually they're not the sort of things that KPIs would sit well with, because a lot of them are enabling. And if we facilitate things to happen that we may not directly be doing ourselves, then I think the job is done. And that's largely what this recovery programme is about. We need to put things in place so that it makes things easy for other people to do. For instance, I'm just trying to look for an example of that, and I'm really in the wrong place. Hang on. Yeah, well, to review policies and procedures to ensure they remain fit for purpose. Now, I don't know how you would attach a KPI to that. I don't think you can. But all we can do is keep looking at things and making sure that they are right going forward, because the world we're going into is not the world we've come out of. So whilst I take your point, and I think we can look down it and see if there are any targets we can set, being target driven by itself is not necessarily a means to success, and I will stand by that.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce. Councillor Smurden, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. With regard to Appendix A, the business and economy proposals, the Team Devon Business and Economy Plan features quite heavily, particularly on that first page. Where can members find details of the Team Devon Business and Economy Plan and how it's updated and what sort of things are in it, please?
Chairman, could we get Mr. Brooke to answer that one, please? But as far as I know, it's on the Devon County Council website, and I'm sure a link or the plan itself can be sent to members. Mr. Brooke, can you add anything to that?
Thank you, Lisa. Yes, it is. It's a public document, and I can put the link in the chat box if that's helpful, or perhaps I'll put it on the members' bulletin in this week. But yes, it's kept live and updated by Devon County Council.
Okay, thanks. That's helpful.
Next, Councillor Rose, Chair. You're on mute, Chair.
I can't hear Councillor Rose. He couldn't hear me. Right. Okay. Sorry about that. Councillor Rose, you're the next one, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a couple of comments on the community engagement strategy. So I chaired the group to create that, and I'm also definitely endorse Nikki's comments and say that I'm also really pleased with what's come out of it, and also just in regards to the comments from Councillor Callaghan and Councillor Hopwood regarding the parking permit consultation. I think one of the reasons that we made this strategy is that we were aware that there were some things that we could improve on in our consultation, and one of those things is about being really clear from the get-go when we engage in consultations about how much power the outcome of the consultation will have in our decision process. So, for example, there are some decisions where we have our hands tied more to a larger or to a greater or lesser extent, but we still want to do a consultation. And so one of the things that has been picked up in this strategy is about being really clear with members of the community that if we are consulting them, is the decision going to rest on the results of the consultation, or is that just going to be a factor? So I would really hope that in our future consultations, this strategy will help us to avoid any situations where members of the public are feeling that their views aren't being heeded. So yeah,
Thank
just
you.
to say with it. Thank you.
Well, thanks for that. And the next speaker is Councillor John Mccain, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on what Councillor Brazil said, and Councillor Pearce's response. There are lots of ways of measuring how outcomes, and I would like to draw attention to everybody about one particular one that I'm aware of, the LM3, which is a means of measuring social value for, and a lot of public organisations, local government, use this tool to measure outcomes, and I think we should be using these sort of things. And so I draw your attention to a thing called lm3online.com. It's a tool that I think the council could use, and in order to there is absolutely no point in having aspirational wish lists, which I feel we tend to err towards in all of these so-called action plans and recovery plans, anything with a plan on the end of it. You always need a target, otherwise you've got absolutely no way of knowing whether you've been successful or not. And also you need timescales associated with those targets as well. And I think that is a sad lack in this plan. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Councillor Sweet.
Hi, thank you.
Councillor Sweet.
Yep, here I am. Press the right buttons. I just wanted to make a really broad comment about consultations at this time. it's really difficult to reach people, to consult with them anyway, not even in normal times. And when everything's online, when people aren't really seeing each other, we're not really getting that kind of word of mouth interaction. You know, like notice boards where things would be sort of pinned and noticed, where people are popping in and out of shops. It's difficult, and I think we sort of really need to sort of consider that. Referring to the parking permit consultation, I think I remember hearing that there was not much of a take up on that consultation, and I think that's the reason why. While we were all quite au fait with, you know, checking our devices and shifting onto being online, not everybody is at all. And I know, you know, how easy it is to bury emails and, you know, just completely forget things when you've seen something kind of on a screen. So I think that's just something that really needs to be sort of recognised. And, you know, as we move into the recovery, that actually some decisions might need tweaking or might need looking at again, just because people have missed information. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak, please? I've not got anyone else on the list. And I've got no hands up. So in that case, I will ask the leader, Councillor Pearce, if you would like to conclude the debate, please. Councillor Pearce.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I've listened carefully to what's been said, and I think there are some good remarks there, and it's something we can take forward. This is a living document. It will be updated and things will be ticked off as they're done. So it's something I and the officers will take forward and consider for the next version or review. Meanwhile, so I think we're ready to go to the vote then, Chairman.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you everyone for their comments and suggestions, which I'm sure we will take on board. So Darryl, we proceed to the vote, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. So in alphabetical order for the motion members, Councillor Abbott.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Austin.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Baldry.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Bastone.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Birch.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Brazil.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Brown.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Chown.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Foss.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Hawkins.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Hodgson.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Holway.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Hopwood.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson.
4.
Councillor Kemp.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Long.
4.
Thank you, Councillor McKay.
4.
Thank you, Councillor O'Callaghan.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Panel.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Pennington.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Pringle.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Reeve.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Rose.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Rowe.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Smurden.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Spencer. Councillor Spencer. I'll try again at the end. Councillor Sweet.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas.
4.
Thank you. And a final call, Councillor Spencer. Okay, that's 29 and unanimous in favour of the recommendation. Thank you, Chair. So that motion is therefore declared carried. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. White. We then move on to item 7, which is climate change and biodiversity strategy and action plan update, which is on page 15 of the agenda papers. So I will invite the leader to introduce the report and then any questions of the report after that, please. So Councillor Pearce, would you like to proceed?
Yes,
please?
thank you, Chairman. Before I start, can I just intervene? Because if Councillor Spencer isn't on the call, could somebody do something to try and get him back in, please? Because as far as I know, he's meant to be attending, but he doesn't seem to be on the list of people.
Leader, I've just spoken to him, and his machine froze, and he's now back in.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Hopwood. That's great. Yes, the Climate Change and Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. Now, members will know that this has been a huge task and at times a bit controversial, but I think we've all come to agreement, well, I hope we have on this. It has been really unfortunate that COVID has so much got in the way of the development of this plan and everything that goes with it. The Devon carbon plan's been held up. The Citizens' Assembly hasn't been able to be held. It's really been very frustrating that we've had to move forward so slowly. And I know that, you know, members of the public think we're going slowly, but actually we've been going flat out on this one, or flat out as much as capacity has allowed us to go. And here we are at last with the strategy and an action plan. And I must give thanks to Adam Williams, who has written a fantastic strategy and updated it, and I think it's really fit for purpose and ready to go. And also to Drew Powell, who for a long time carried the can on his own, along with all the other multiplicity of things he does. And I think with very small resource, we have come to a very satisfactory finish. I'll just say a few words about it. The key part of the meeting, the full council meeting on the 24th of September, was to compile the first version of the strategy and action plan to bring back to council today. So here we are. And another key action was to hold an initial meeting of the council's Climate Change and Biodiversity Community Forum. Now, this was actually held last week with Adam Williams presiding. And when I finished, Adam or Drew, I'm not quite sure which of them, is going to come in and say a few words on that. And we'll take questions on it afterwards if you would like them to. But it sounds like it was a really successful meeting. So I would like to thank Adam for setting that up and getting such a good group of people together, because they seem to get on really well and they've got lots of good ideas. There's a lot of expertise, knowledge and capacity amongst people out there that the council should endeavour to learn from, work with and support, and that's what we're trying to do. And we will continue to engage and meet on an informal basis with wider groups and individuals as and when appropriate in order to work towards shared aims. Now, the purpose from now on is that the executive should take over this work, and the overview and scrutiny will do their scrutinising bit every so often, probably every 6 months. And on that, another thing I need to say there is that I would like to thank Councillor Mccain for sending in his paper. And whilst we can't incorporate it in this version because it's too late, we have agreed that in the new year, Drew Powell, Adam Williams and Councillor Birch, as Chairman of Overview and Scrutiny, and myself will sit down with him and go through the plan and see what could be incorporated in the action plan at a future date, because it's a living document. I think all the rest of it you probably know, because it's things that have been happening as the plan goes along. There is an extra recommendation that has been put on. At the moment, we can only see 1 and 2. Darryl, could we see the other recommendations? Because there's one, yes, recommendation 6. You will see that there is a section in the report which deals with the proposed way forward and the funding. This is at 6.5 and 6.6. We have not yet bottomed out how the funds will actually be allocated when the time comes. Although we've got the great amounts, we've got 200,000, and we thought it would be most equitable, because this money is going to have to last for a long time, to let that be bid for in 2 tranches. Now we've got to look into exactly how the crowdfund platform is going to work for this. And so the proposal is that when the details are worked out, officers will contact the former members, the members of the working group, which now will only meet intermittently, to get their approval for the method in which that is going to happen, because that was the final duty that the working group has to do. So in order to finish off their work completely, you will be contacted later on by officers when we know exactly how that's going to happen. With that, Chairman, I'm happy to attempt to answer questions, but I think we'll first have Drew or Adam, whoever's going to speak on the meeting last week.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Pearce.
Is that all right?
I will ask Mr. Williams if he'd like to come in, please.
Thank you, Councillor Rose. Yeah, so the community forum took place last week. It was very successful. The members of the group all got on quite well with each other, and they were very grateful that the council were listening to calls to engage in a more meaningful way. So they were quite grateful to be involved and grateful for the way the council are going about it. So we just had a quick. It was quite a low key event in terms of just kind of a bit more setting the scene in terms of getting introduced to each other. So we had a quick introduction in terms of I did the presentation about the how the strategy is set out and how the action plan came about. And then Dave Sexton did a bit on the private sector housing work that he does, and then we had a short discussion around energy use in a domestic setting. We had a few exercises ran on a Mentimeter where we had some word clouds developed during the meeting, and the members of the meeting were quite keen to meet more frequently. I think we established that we'd have quarterly meetings. They wanted to meet a bit more frequently to keep the momentum going, and we were quite happy to facilitate that. So we are going to get in touch with them in January and hopefully set up the next meeting for sometime in February. That's it.
Thank you. It sounds like you had quite a full and busy meeting. And most interesting, the resume you've given us. Members, I don't have anyone who's asked a question yet in the chat box. I'm sure some of you must have a question. Someone has a question amongst you.
Chair, Councillor Hodgson's got a hand up.
Oh, yes, I've got a hand up. Carry on.
Hodgson, Chair.
Councillor Hodgson, yes, please. Councillor Hodgson, if you'd like to ask your question, please. Councillor Hodgson.
Sorry, my mute had gone off again. Yeah, the number of people have been asking who actually has been selected for this group. I mean, and it's an answer, it's something I can't answer because I don't know. And I think I wonder why the working group wasn't invited to actually even just to observe on that meeting, because I would have been very interested to hear the questions that came up. And I just in terms of what's going forward now in terms of the working group not meeting anymore, and it's going to be casual, I think we should have quarterly meetings at least so that we can actually bring things forward, because there are, we've worked quite hard on this.
Question, Councillor Hodgson? That's a statement, not a question. Questions, okay, please.
Right, okay, so you heard the first question.
You can ask. Okay, you can say what you're saying later on when we get to the debate if anyone else has got any questions, please. Questions? No?
I gave you a question. I asked who is on the list, who is actually on this community.
Okay, right, yes. Well, yeah, fine. Okay, Councillor Pearce will answer that. Councillor Pearce?
I'm afraid I can't recite every name, but
no.
I can reassure Councillor Hodgson that the method she suggested was followed, and it has got a very good cross-section of people. Now, I'm sure that Adam can send you the list of who's on it if you want to know, Jackie, and he can also talk to you more about what was said at the meeting. But we did agree that we wouldn't have councillors intervening in these meetings because we don't really want to kind of put them off by having a presence of councillors there that might inhibit them in any way. And I think it does sound like the meeting was so successful that I don't think there were any outcomes from this meeting because they were getting to know each other, and that's why they want to meet again quite quickly to start moving on, with definite actions. But I can ask Adam to clarify that. I think that's right, isn't it, Adam, from what you said to me?
Yeah, that's right. We'll be meeting a bit more frequently than what we had envisaged. In terms of showing the list of members, we'll need to obviously check for data protection, all that sort of stuff, but that should be okay.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rose, you've got a question, please.
Thank you. My question is.
Councillor Rose.
Thank you. Can you hear me? My question is, assuming obviously we need to get consent and there's data protection, but can that list of the names be put on our website? Because I have also received a lot of questions from the community. People want to know who's representing them in that group. So can that be looked into so that that information can be made available to the public, as they would want to know who their representatives are? Thank you.
And then Councillor Mccain. Sorry, carry on. Carry on, Councillor Pearce.
I was just saying we could look into that, Chairman.
Fine, thank you. I think that might be the answer to quite a few of the questions which we are getting. Councillor Mccain, please.
Thank you. I just want to question why the rationale behind excluding members from the meeting. I mean, I know for certain that they're certainly not being put off by, because I've had an awful lot of people from that meeting emailing me about what happened. So I've got a fairly good idea about what happened, and generally people were quite pleased about that the meeting had taken place and how it had conducted itself. But my presence or anybody else's, any other members' presence, I fail to understand why we should be excluded from the meeting. We are, after all, representatives of our community, and so should surely be able to at least listen in and occasionally contribute to the discussion.
Councillor Mccain, the reason members aren't there is because I believe that's what we understood and decided at the working group when this was discussed. I stand to be corrected on that, but perhaps Mr. Powell could.
Well, I would like to correct that, because I recall saying it being agreed that the first meeting that would be the case, because it was just an introductory meeting, but certainly that was not agreed going forward, I don't think.
Well, can we take that away and look into it afterwards, please?
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we don't need to debate that now. I'm sure it can be sorted. Councillor Sweet, and then I'll go back to Councillor Hodgson. Councillor Sweet.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, just about the membership of the group. Could I ask how they were selected? It would be really fantastic to have that list of people come through. Can I ask sort of how they were selected, and can I also ask if they will change? I think one of the other members mentioned that that the membership would change and be sort of flexible as and when whatever contribution was exhausted, so to speak. Maybe somebody else's contribution might be valid to a certain area that is being discussed at that time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adam, would you like to explain? It was Jackie Hodgson's process, wasn't it? But perhaps you'd like to explain how it works.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so obviously it's a bit of a challenge to sit down before we had about 86 people who expressed interest to be on the group. But we primarily aim to achieve a spread of age and where they're located in Southam, to make sure there's a representative spread across those age groups and their geographic location. And then after we did that, we applied another series of criteria to try and make sure there's a broad spread of parish council representatives on that group, as well as businesses, community interest companies, community groups and volunteer organisations, and just general individuals with an expertise. So in terms of balancing out those criteria with the age and location, obviously some people dropped off that would have equal claim to anyone else, but we've got a very even spread of geography and age at the very least, but we've also got another spread of people who represent parishes, community groups, businesses and individuals and experts.
Thank you.
Has anyone else got any questions they wish to ask? Councillor Sweet, you've got your hand up. Is that from a previous question?
Councillor Sweet
Yes,
has
it seems to just.
Councillor Sweet has just dropped out, and she said to ask her question on her behalf, but I'm not entirely sure what it is.
I think she'd asked.
Okay, well, she might drop back in. She might drop back in again in a minute.
Okay.
Yes. If you don't know what the question is, you can't
No,
ask
I
it
don't,
on
I'm
her.
afraid I don't. Sorry. Yeah, I
Chair.
was trying to find out,
Okay, right. So,
Chair, could I just let
Yes.
you know she's sorry, Chair. Thank you. It's Councillor Thomas. She's asked whether her question could be answered when she gets back in, please, because she's dropped out of the call.
okay. She's lost connection, has she?
I believe so,
Yes.
Chair. Yes, I believe so.
Okay, thank you. So in which case, can we move on then, if there are no further questions? Councillor Pearce, would you like to move the recommendation, please?
Yes, Chairman, I have pleasure in moving the recommendations 1 to 5, and the extra one that you see on the screen, number 6, in red, which is about the funds that should be distributed in accordance with section 6.5 and 6.6 of the agenda report.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder, please?
Seconded.
Thank you, Councillor Bastone. So now we can move on to the debate, and I will call Councillor Hodgson first. Thank you, Councillor Hodgson.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to really ask about how we move forward in terms of the working group that has brought this action plan, obviously with the the major input from Adam Williams and Drew Powell. And yeah, I'm very pleased that we are where we are, but I do think it's not something that we just sort of say, well, we've been there, done that, and we put it on, and then it just gets pulled off the shelf every now and then. It has to be a dynamic document, and not least of which is because Devon County Council's own climate, it's an interim carbon plan, they've called it, which is, most people are probably aware, is out for public consultation at the moment until the 20th of February. I think there's going to be things that come through that, and I think it would be really useful for the working group to now be able to look at that document, because we've kind of been flying blind really in terms of our understanding of what's going to come from Devon, and also it's always been understood that we would actually be incorporating a lot of what's coming from Devon into our plan as that emerges, so we would be seeing what bits were relevant to South Hams. But there's also a whole piece of work that's going on underneath us as well, which is from the town and parish councils. And I just think that we need to have a dynamic situation so that we can look at what is coming from them, that because they are making recommendations as to what they would like to see their sort of district council as well as their county councils do. So I think, to just leave it as kind of to be just brought to overview and scrutiny or exec every now and then, when those committees are already always very busy meetings, I think, there's having a working group, even if we just agree to meet quarterly, I think it would be really valuable. I mean, we've had this conversation anyway over the last year or so about how frequent our meetings were, and it was always seen that they weren't going to be frequent. But now that they seem to have just been lost, taken away altogether, I think it's a gap. The other thing I wanted to raise was that I'm very aware that a letter was sent in to South Hams, which was signed by, I think it was 30 businesses and community representatives. It was a very interesting meeting, and it also sort of recognised the role of South Hams. But there were some questions in there, and I think they wanted to try and sort of make the point there that there are a lot of people who are very interested in what we're doing, and particularly since a lot of those were businesses who are obviously seriously compromised with as COVID sort of continues to ravage through us. So I just think there's a lot of work that the working group as a group that's gelled quite well, and I think we're kind of very hands-on with the plan, and I think we should make sure that we keep it as dynamic through having regular meetings where we can update and then bring those recommendations through to either overview and scrutiny or executive as appropriate.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hodgson. Yes. Well, it is a working document, and I'm sure that work will be on rolling for quite a long time, and we will be adding to it as we go along. The next speaker, I believe, is Councillor Joseph Rose, please.
Thank you, Chair. Unfortunately, I actually lost connection during Councillor Hodgson's comments, so I apologise if anything is being repeated. I just also wished to kind of push for a continuation of the working group in some form, just because of the nature of the climate situation being ever changing, ever evolving. There's new information coming. You know, the rate of new information is actually just increasing as more and more people become involved in this. So having those meetings in order to review the latest information and how that could apply to our council, I think would be of great value to our ongoing process. And I understand that it's resource heavy in terms of officer time to put those meetings forward. I do, however, feel that as this is such an important issue, it does justify the use of that resources. And I would hope that that isn't too contentious, and that we could find a good way in order to continue the work of the action group, which doesn't impede anything else. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Roche. Yes, I entirely agree with you. And I think we need to go back to Councillor Sweet, who unfortunately lost connection and dropped out. Councillor Sweet, would you like to speak now, please?
Well, thank you, Chair. Yeah, sorry, I literally dropped out just as Adam was going to answer my question, which was, will the membership of the group be changed as it goes along, or is that fixed? I mean the public membership.
Thank you. Adam, could you answer the question, please, for Councillor Sweet?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so within our terms of reference, it's a 12-month rolling membership. So the way we see it playing out is once the 12 months is up, members who are there already can opt to remain in, and if anyone wants to leave at that point, we can figure out a way of cycling in some new members at that time.
Okay,
thank you. Thank you.
How did those specific? Why were those specific people chosen? Is there, do they have individual portfolios, so to speak?
Yeah, so the primary aim was to make sure there was a representative spread of age bands, and also location where people sit within South Hams, just to make sure the geographic spread of people on the group. And once we did that filter, we then applied another filter to try and capture people who represent voluntary organisations, community interest companies, businesses, and any experts or individuals that have some sort of interest or area of expertise that we were able to capture. But the age and location was the primary metrics that we used.
Okay, thank you. I mean, would it be possible to have an all-member forum with that group if the actual working group continuation is under debate? Could we possibly have regular forums with all members and that group, just so we're all kind of can have a catch up?
That might have to be a question of Councillor. Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you. I think I've somewhere missed out Councillor Brown. Is that correct?
That's
yes,
correct, Chair.
yes, Chairman. Yes. Am I right
okay,
to go ahead?
Councillor. Yes, yeah, Councillor Brown, because
Yeah.
I think you're a little way back up my list. Carry on.
Not a problem at all, Chairman. Thank you very much anyway. Yes, I'm very pleased to see these recommendations come forward as a member of, or as a full member of the Climate Change and Biodiversity Working Group. I think these are a really good concrete set of plans, and I'm tremendously pleased to hear, as reported by Mr. Williams, about this board that's been put together and to further the progress of the climate change crisis and combating it. This could make a genuine difference on the ground, I think, particularly with the crowdfunding exercise. And I think that really gives, it means it's not necessarily top down, which I think is quite useful, because this is something that genuinely does require buy-in from all of the town and parish councils and all of our communities. So I welcome that. I'm afraid I don't agree with the suggestion to get the Climate Change and Biodiversity Working Group back together to have regular meetings. I appreciate, I think members will want to have continued input to this, and I don't see why they can't by emailing or contacting Mr. Williams and Mr. Powell, but I just think they're quite labour intensive to resource, and frankly I'd like the officers just to be able to get on with it, to be honest, just to be able to get on with the work that they need to be able to do. So I wouldn't support that, but I'm very happy to support these recommendations and the new recommendation. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Then I've got, I believe, Councillor John Mccain. followed by Councillor Hawkins. So Councillor Mccain, would you like to speak first, please?
Okay, thank you very much. This action plan, I mean, I will have said this before, so you'll have to forgive me for reiterating this, but I do feel it needs to be said. When you say get on with stuff, I sort of wonder exactly what it is that we will be getting on with, because the action plan is far too vague, and it is a bit like the recovery plan, and it's one of the I would contrast it with a report that is completely different, which is the housing strategy, which commits to having an annual plan using, the usual SMART approach to targeting and measuring outcomes, and to renew that annually. This action plan has none of that at all, nor does it attempt to. And I find that very disappointing. I mean, what we've got just recently, the Devon Climate Emergency Group has said that they're going to have a target of 50% reduction by 2030 of emissions. This report has no reference to that. I mean, I appreciate that this is a fast-moving situation, and there may have been no time to include these things, but I would have thought a sentence referring to that wouldn't have gone amiss. And then we've got central government suggesting that we should have a 68% reduction by 2030 in emissions. So all of these things will require quite detailed planning, because in order to avail ourselves of funds via the, say, just for instance, the Public Loans Works Loan Board, it needs a plan. You need a proper strategic capital plan, and there is an opportunity here to address climate change, build a green economy, and none of this is being addressed by this action plan, which I find disappointing. I'm going to support it because it is a start, but I just want to emphasise that I welcome the fact that the leader has agreed to have a meeting and discuss some of the suggestions that I've put forward. But I mean, they are only meant to be a few suggestions. We are limited only by our imagination in all of this, and there is an awful lot of things that we can be doing. That's the end of my statement. Thanks.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you, Councillor Mccain. And of course, it does, if you note the recommendation number 2, evolved and ongoing, so we can add bits to it as we go along and alter things as necessary. And then the next speaker, Councillor Hawkins, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the most important thing is this is going to be a working document. This is obviously going to be a very, very important piece of work for this council. We've committed a considerable amount of money to it. We've got our officer now in place, who I'm told is doing an excellent job, which I thank him very much for. I fully support these recommendations. Just 2 comments, really. I'm hoping very much that we're going to be keeping our parish councils informed of what our plans and how this is going to go forward, because that's very important for all of us. And also how we're going to, this perhaps is a question, how we're going to involve our schools, because they're the future. This is why we're doing this to a certain extent, and they must have an input in that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you for that. Is there anybody who wishes to speak who hasn't spoken already, please?
I think Councillor Hodgson's on the list, Chairman.
Pardon?
Councillor Hodgson seems to be on the list, Chairman.
Well, I've got about 3 or 4 hands appearing here, and I'm not quite sure if they belong to anyone who hasn't spoken already. I've got Councillor Brown with his hand up, but I think he's already spoken, and I've got one with no name on, and I've got Councillor Hodgson. So, Councillor Hodgson, if you'd like to come back, we'll make you the last speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I think, there's been quite a lot of comments that are not dissimilar to my own in terms of how important this plan is and how it needs to be dynamic. And I think, the working group can give support to the work going on rather than actually be a burden. And I would just like to place an amendment essentially to the recommendation, which is an item, I think it'll be item 7, which the Climate and Biodiversity Working Group will continue to meet on a quarterly basis to review and consider the action plan as needed and work as it goes forward.
Chairman,
Thank you.
may I reply to that, Chairman?
Yes.
Councillor Hodgson might need a seconder.
Councillor Hodgson, do you have a seconder, please?
Would somebody like to second that, please?
Seconded, Chair.
Yeah, okay.
Chairman, I'm not averse to that at all. It would become an executive working group now because this work has been handed over to the executive. My only problem, and I think Councillor Brown made the point really well, is the capacity of officers to service another working group. I think at the moment they would find it really hard, and we have to bear in mind that Adam has got the public forum, which he is now chairing, and I think that's going to take up quite a lot of his time. So the plan always was that the working group would meet as and when there was something the working group needs to discuss. And if Councillor Hodgson would take that and agree to take down her amendment, I would be much happier with it, because I think committing to a quarterly meeting, when just for the sake of having a meeting quarterly, you've got to have a meeting, when there may or there may not be something to discuss, it would be better to call a working group meeting when there is something to discuss and when we need an answer on something. And that always was the plan. It's just that we were going to take it off the regular schedule now that we have got the strategy and the action plan for the first 6 months, 1 year worked out. We're already going to have to go before overview and scrutiny, which will command a certain amount of work. But the working group will meet as and when, but to commit it to a quarterly meeting when there may or may not be something to discuss, to me doesn't seem a good idea, but we'll probably have to see what other members think.
Thank you. Councillor Rose, please, you're the next speaker.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask a clarifying question, and then if possible to come back on it, which is just when Councillor Pearce, when you say that it's going to be an executive working group now, does that mean that the membership of the working group will change to just include executive, or will the membership remain as it is?
No, Councillor Rose, it will remain as it is, but you know that you have overview and scrutiny working groups because you've been on them. Well, this will be an executive working group.
Thank you. That was all.
It's just that for the overview and scrutiny working groups, you've only ever had members of overview and scrutiny, but in fact, anybody can be on an overview and scrutiny working group, and anybody can be on an executive working group.
Thank you very much for that clarification, Councillor. Is it okay if I quickly come back to that, Chair?
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. I guess actually as a second, I'd just like to speak on this. I really don't disagree with what you said, Councillor Pearce, in the sense that it makes sense for the working group to meet as and when it's needed. I don't actually have any problem with that. All I would say is that 4 meetings a year, considering how quickly things are changing in terms of I personally am coming across new information weekly. I would be extremely surprised if we would have the issue that there wasn't enough going on that needed addressing if we were to meet 4 times a year. So really I just wanted to make that point, although I do agree that we should meet as and when it's needed, although I would be really shocked if that was less than 4 times a year. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we wish to, who's next? I think Councillor Birch. We've not heard from you this afternoon. Councillor Birch, would you like to speak, please?
Yes, I'm not happy with the amendment, because to a certain extent it duplicates what's at item 3 of the recommendation. Item 3 of the recommendation provides for the action plan to be monitored by the overview and scrutiny panel on a 6 monthly basis. I did notice that the leader did mention that there was the possibility it may be more frequent than that. But be that the case, the fact is that number 7 or additional number 7 is to a certain extent duplicating that. I think therefore I'm having difficulty supporting this because it amounts to duplication. However, what the proposal or the suggestion put forward by the leader, I think is the way forward. And I don't really think it's necessary to include it in a recommendation. I mean, the leader has made it quite clear that the working party or the working group will be given an opportunity to assist the executive on an as and when basis. And I think that is sufficient. So I don't think it's necessary to include it as part of the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Mccain, do you wish to ask a question? Is that right?
Yes, it's a very quick question. As this is now an executive matter, I mean, I believe it always was. It always seemed to fall between two stools a bit. But anyway, this is where it will be after this meeting, and this has been adopted. Will it therefore be an item on the executive forward plan?
Good question. Councillor Pearce, could you answer that, please?
Yes, I can. It will be an item on the executive forward plan if and when there is a paper coming to the executive committee on the subject.
Thank you. And then I've got Councillor Hodgson, which I will make the last speaker. Thank you. Since you moved the amendment, you can sum it up, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
No, I completely forgot. No, I'll get it tonight. I'm going to kick myself.
Hopford, could you switch off your microphone, please? Yeah, I just wanted to say really that I think this is different. I mean, I hear what Councillor Birch says, but I think this is essentially, it's like detailed work. This is what working groups do. They look at the detail. I mean, overview and scrutiny would receive a report, as would perhaps the executive, but that would rely on the officers raising things. This is really keeping the public representation, which has been so critical in all of this. And I hear what's been said about the community board, but we are the elected representatives to actually make sure that things that are going on are actually reflected in the outcomes of the work that we do. So I do think the working group has a substantive role, and that's why I asked for it to meet on a quarterly basis. I don't think it's going to be that onerous, because I think it's us ideally that will be doing the work rather than expecting officers to do anything other than just update us as to where they've got to.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Mr. White, could we now move to the vote, please?
Thank you, members. So the vote is on the amendment, members, for clarity, which is part 7 on the screens as displayed. So we're voting on the amendment only, members. Thank you. Councillor Abbott?
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Austin?
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Baldry?
Abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Bastone?
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Birch?
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Brazil?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Brown?
Against.
Councillor Chown?
Abstain.
Councillor Foss?
Against.
Councillor Hawkins?
Against.
Councillor Hodgson?
For.
Councillor Holway?
Against.
Councillor Hopwood?
Against.
Councillor Jackson?
For.
Councillor Kemp?
For.
Councillor Long?
For.
Councillor Mackay?
For.
Councillor Callaghan?
For.
Councillor Pennell?
Abstain.
Councillor Pearce?
Against.
Councillor Pennington?
Against.
Councillor Pringle?
Against.
Councillor Reeve?
Against.
Councillor Rose?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe?
Against.
Councillor Smurden?
Against.
Councillor Spencer?
Against.
Councillor Sweet?
For.
Councillor Taylor.
Against.
And Councillor Thomas.
For.
Thank you, members. That is therefore 10 votes in favour with 17 against and 3 abstentions, and the amendment is therefore declared lost. Thank you, members.
Thank you for that. Darryl, could we then move to the substantive motion, please, and then vote on this?
Chairman, can I just sum up?
Pardon?
Can I just sum up on it?
Yes, you may do. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I'm really sorry about that recommendation, because one of the things I was going to say in my summing up was that, really we've had a lot of help from the working group, and I was going to thank Councillor Hodgson in particular for her input to the biodiversity side of it, because she really is the expert on that, and she made loads of really helpful suggestions. So it's a shame actually that recommendation came forward, because it's rather kind of scotched it a bit. But otherwise, Chairman, I commend the recommendations to members and hope that they're able to vote for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So over to you now, Mr. White.
Thank you very much, Chair. So for parts 1 to 6 of the recommendations as per the screen, members, Councillor Abbott.
For.
Thank you, Councillor Austin.
For.
Thank you, Councillor Baldry.
For.
Thank you, Councillor Bastone.
For.
Councillor Birch.
For.
Thank you, Councillor Brazil.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Chown.
For.
Councillor Foss.
For.
Councillor Hawkins.
For.
Councillor Hodgson.
For.
Councillor Holway.
For.
Councillor Hopwood.
For.
Councillor Jackson.
For.
Councillor Kemp.
For.
Councillor Long.
For.
Councillor McKay.
For.
Councillor Callaghan.
For.
Councillor Pannell.
For.
Councillor Pearce.
For.
Councillor Pennington.
For.
Councillor Pringle.
For.
Councillor Reeve.
For.
Councillor Joseph Rose.
For.
Councillor Rosemary Rowe.
For.
Councillor Smurden.
For.
Councillor Spencer.
For.
Councillor Sweet.
For.
Councillor Taylor.
For.
And Councillor Thomas.
For.
Thank you, members. That is therefore 30 votes in favour and unanimously approved of parts 1 to 6 of that recommendation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So now we move on to item 8, which is the planning delegation scheme with the recommendation which is before you. And I believe Councillor Bastone is going to introduce this report. So, Councillor Bastone.
Thank you, Chairman. The purpose of this report is to propose changes to the scheme of delegation. The changes are limited to the scope of head of development management practices delegated powers. If agreed, the changes will bring the officers' delegated powers and the power of members to refer an application to the DM committee into line with West Devon Borough Council. They will also make the council's decision-making arrangements clearer and more accountable. The changes are proposed as one of the actions agreed by the Development Management Committee at its meeting on the 2nd of December. The actions, when implemented as a whole, will 1. Give members more information about planning applications. 2. Ensure that decisions on planning applications are taken on a sound basis. 3. Make the council's decision-making arrangements clearer and more accountable. And 4. Encourage proactive and constructive working with town and parish councils on planning applications. The proposed changes are set out in Appendix A of the report. They include excluding from the officer's delegated powers any applications under which the council will acquire an interest in the land to be developed. Paragraph 1.3 of Appendix A introduces a new requirement. The head of development management practice will have to carry out further consultation with more ward members if the terms of Section 106 agreement differ from the heads of terms set out in the officer report on which their agreement was requested, or if Section 106 agreement has not been completed within 3 months. While paragraph 1 deals with the rights of ward members, paragraph 2 sets out of the rights of any member to ask for an application to be referred to the DM committee. This is an important clarification. The right is to be exercised during the period of public consultation and is subject to consultation and ward members. The intention is that this would be appropriate where the impacts of an application cross ward boundaries. There are a couple of small additions that I would like to add to Appendix A. In paragraph 2.1, add 28-day before public consultation period. In paragraph 2.2, add member before the consultation period referred to in paragraph 1.2.2. Also replace issues with reasons. Subject to these minor additions, I would like to move the recommendation, and I understand that Councillor Brazil will second it, but he would like to make a couple comments now as well, please, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Baston. Councillor Brazil.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, happy to second it. The point I was going to make was in 2.1, where this is about calling in applications to be heard by the DM committee. As it stands, the protocol that we have at South Hams is that ward members are consulted, and then if they choose to, they can delegate it or they can ask it to go to the DM committee. We've not had before that any member could choose for an application outside of their ward to go in. Having discussed it with our group, we decided that it was very necessary, was very relevant and seemed like a good idea that neighbouring ward members, particularly when it affects them either with a visual impact or possibly other issues that might affect a neighbouring ward, but actually the application is in their ward. So I understand that West Devon have agreed this and they've put in any member, so I'm happy to go along with that. But I would have preferred if it was neighbouring ward members on applications, but it's not something that I'm going to go to the wall on. So we're happy to second, as is, with the modifications that Councillor Bastone suggested.
Thank you. Members, any questions? I think Councillor Pannell, he wishes to ask a question. Is that correct, Councillor Pannell?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm easily confused. How does this affect the ability of ward members to call in an application when they've seen when the consultation period is finished and the officer has made his recommendation or her recommendation, please?
I believe Mr. Weimer's with us. Perhaps would he like to answer that?
Chairman, Dave Fairbairn is here with you. I can answer that question. It's fine.
Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah.
It's Mr. Fairbairn, Chairman.
Right.
Thank you, Chairman. The right of the ward member isn't confined to simply the 28-day public consultation period. Their right to call in or refer an application is as it presently is. So effectively an officer wishes to seek to exercise delegated powers, then they must consult them as they would do now. That part of the scheme of delegation is not changed, other than that the chairman is no longer one of the consultees. But ward members still have the same powers that they had under the current scheme. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you. So then I've got Councillor Baldry.
Thank
Please.
you. Thank you, Chairman. First the question, and then as we're going into, I've gone into the debate, a very brief comment. Question is, can we see the amendments in writing, please, on the screen? I couldn't take them all in as Councillor Bastone rattled them off. And secondly, both Councillor Bastone and Councillor Brazil have made reference for the reason for supporting this is that West Devon have approved it. Bad reasoning, gentlemen. Doesn't convince me.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Pearce, you have a question you'd like to ask?
I have a question, but I also have a comment. And following on from what Councillor Baldry's just said, I think it would be appropriate to make the comment now, if I may, Chairman, because it's on something he said as well.
Carry on. Yes.
I don't entirely agree with what he said, but I absolutely agree with his sentiment, because last time we had agreed with West Devon a scheme of delegation, and we had our council meeting first and agreed the scheme as we had agreed with the working party from West Devon, only to find that when it was West Devon Council, their then leader went and changed it around completely so that their scheme of delegation was substantially different from ours. Now this time, West Devon have had their council first, and we're being told because they put things in, it would be good if we could agree it too. Now, I absolutely agree with that. It would be good if we could agree it too, because it makes it far easier for officers to work from one scheme only. But it seems that twice we've had things cut out from underneath us by West Devon. However, my question was that originally there was something in here about the template, the reports template, so that the policies that were under consideration in the matter being discussed would be at the top of the report, which is the logical place for them to be, not right at the end when you get to the end of the report. And so my question is that going to happen as well? It doesn't have to be in this, it just needs to happen. But can I ask that question, please?
Thank you. Mr. Fairbairn, would you be able to answer that? I'm
yes,
not sure
very happy to answer that, Chairman. Yes, it's one of the actions of that were agreed as part of the action plan, and that will come along with the introduction of the new IT system for planning. And so, yes, you will start in due course see a change in the committee report template to reflect that recommendation that policies appear at the front rather than at the end of the report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone else wish to ask a question or contribute to the debate?
Chair, can I just come in at this point?
Not,
Chair, can I just come in?
Yes.
It's Darryl. Councillor Baldry made the point about having the subject twos on the screen. I didn't catch them all, so if I just ask Councillor Bastone as proposed, just to repeat them, please.
I'm in the process of doing that.
Thank you.
Weather's closing in.
So we hold the line, waiting for Councillor Bastone. Sorry, what did you say, Councillor Brazil?
I just said the weather's closing in.
Yes, it is. It looks a bit rough outside here now. So,
so people weren't feeling lonely.
It sounds like some sort of code.
Councillor Bastone, if I can assist, it's 2.2 and it was the insertion of member before consultation period.
Chairman, if it's okay, I'll forward the note to Mr. White, and for that he'll just be able to do a cut and paste into the slide.
I've sent them to Mr. White now.
Can I ask what page is this on, Councillor Bastow?
Sorry, which it was Appendix A.
Yes.
Paragraph 2.1. Mr. White's putting it up now. And also 2.2.
Don't want to appear pedantic, Madam Chairman, but should that not be insertion rather than assertion? Far be it from me to be the grammar police.
You only just beat me to it, Councillor Smith.
I thought.
Yes, I was waiting for him to stop typing before I.
Yes,
Chairman. Can I just correct section 2.2? It should be add member before the consultation period for 2.2, not 28 day. Thank you.
That's their chair, I believe.
Yes, Mr. Fairburn has said I will prepare a clean copy if agreed and circulate tomorrow, late tomorrow.
So, Chair, therefore, with those two additions, that's what's been proposed and seconded by Councillor Bastone and Councillor Brazil. So that is the motion that is subject to debate as we speak, Chair.
That's the motion before us. So does anyone else wish to comment on this, or shall we move to the vote? Okay, shall we move to the vote then, Mr. White, please?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Abbott.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Austin.
4.
Thank you, Councillor Baldry.
4.
Councillor Bastone.
4.
Councillor Birch.
4.
Councillor Brazil.
4.
Councillor Brown.
4.
Councillor Chown.
4.
Councillor Foss.
4.
Councillor Hawkins.
4.
Councillor Hodgson.
4.
Councillor Holway.
4.
Councillor Hopwood.
4.
Councillor Jackson.
4.
Councillor Kemp.
4.
Councillor Long.
4.
Councillor Mccain.
4.
Councillor Callahan.
4.
Councillor Panel.
4.
Councillor Pearce.
4.
Councillor Pennington.
4.
Councillor Pringle.
4.
Councillor Reeve.
4.
Councillor Rose.
4.
Councillor Rowe.
4.
Councillor Smurden.
4.
Councillor Spencer.
4.
Councillor Sweet.
4.
Councillor Taylor.
4.
And Councillor Thomas.
4.
Thank you, members. That therefore is unanimously in favour of the recommendation as per the screens. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Results being declared accordingly. Thank you. So we move on to item 9 now, which is Resource and Waste Management Strategy for Devon and Torbay on page 63 of the agenda papers. And this is going to be introduced by Councillor Baldry. And then carry on. Thank you.
No, go on. Who's following? Who's following me? And no. All I want to do at this stage, Chairman, is introduce the report, which I hope is self-explanatory. I will take any questions and then move to recommendations as the debate starts. But this is a piece of, in my opinion, bureaucratic nonsense. But we have to go through the motion as explained here. After, and hopefully it is agreed later today, then we then go out to public consultation along the rest of Devon districts and Torbay. My introduction is over.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Baldry. That was short and sweet. Thank you very much. So can we move on to questions, members? Do you have any questions, please? Councillor Hodgson.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, will we be making a response, and what basis? How will that response be generated? Will it be just officers, or will it come through executive, or what?
Good question. I think it is a public consultation, and anybody, as a member of the public, including members, can respond. But if the officers know differently, perhaps I say. Am I here naked and no officers with me, Chairman?
I'm here. Would you like me to come in there, Chair?
Yes, please, Jane.
Okay, yeah, so this is just agreeing the strategy for a public consultation, which we can put into, but we did actually help to set this strategy anyway. So we are part of the Devon Authority Strategic Waste Committee, so we have helped to set the strategy. This is just for ratification that we can go out to public consultation. Of course, we can, members as individuals can respond to the consultation as well. It will then, once it comes back in, it goes back to the Devon authorities, and then it will come back again to this council for final ratification. So there are plenty of times for input on this one.
Chairman, you understand now why I said it's a bureaucratic nonsense. It's ping pong backwards and forwards, and it ends up back with us after we've done the consultation.
Chair, you're on mute.
Yes, right, okay. Councillor Hodgson.
It's Councillor Smurden, Chair.
Oh, okay.
Councillor Smurden then, right, okay.
Well, on my screen, they're both at 15:26, so I will, I think I'll allow Councillor Hodgson to ask her question first. It's fine.
Councillor Hodgson, I believe, has asked a question, Chair.
Yeah, I'm done and dusted at the moment.
Right, yes,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, in that case, I'll ask mine. I'm just interested to note that it's the strategy for Devon and Torbay. So I'm assuming that Devon would include Exeter, because that Devon, Exeter is obviously is not a unitary authority, but obviously it excludes Plymouth, which is the largest conurbation around. Is there any reason for that? Is there, why can we not get Plymouth aligned as well?
I'll let Jane give you the detailed answer, but the reality is that Plymouth were in the dim and distant part of this group, and they decided for their own reasons to withdraw from the group. Jane.
Yeah, so this was the whole of Devon, including the two unitaries, Plymouth and Torbay. Quite a few years ago, Plymouth decided to go their own way, but it doesn't mean to say that they don't support the same kind of principles. Torbay stayed with the rest of Devon. So Torbay does have its own strategy as well, which is much smaller than this, but again, it's very closely linked to this. So for Plymouth, they have their own strategy, but it will go along the same principles of waste reduction, carbon reduction. So it's exactly the same kind of principles. They're just going about it a different way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. Do we have any more questions, please? No.
Councillor Panel.
Councillor Panel. Councillor Panel.
Thank you. It's only a very quick one. I did read through this as best I could, 97 pages of it on Monday. What I can't remember now is if there's any reference made to fly tipping. I think there was, but I'm not sure on that. That is becoming quite a very touchy subject in the disposal of waste. And can you just remind me if there is a reference to fly tipping in there?
Jane.
Sorry, just trying to find the microphone again. Yes, so there is reference to litter and fly tipping, and we work closely aligned with Clean Devon, so that we're part of Clean Devon as well. So if you look at the strategy, it is actually in section 13, which is all about litter and fly tipping, and it takes into consideration the litter strategy for England as well. So I don't know whether you want me to put any more details into that, or whether you want to. It's quite a large area.
No, just I'd just like to sort of encourage officers to work with the authorities and the police and the Environment Agency in trying to combat what has been, especially during lockdown, a marked increase in fly tipping.
So if I may just respond to that then, Chair. The Clean Devon Partnership, it is a group of organisations which includes the police, Dartmoor National Park, local businesses, the tourist industry. It's quite a broad-ranging group of people, and we're all working together. We have a single website, a single aim, and the idea is that we're all putting out the same kind of communications, the same branding, and we're actually collating all the data from fly tipping so that we don't just stop at boundaries, so that we can find out the serial fly tippers, etc. So we pass all that information between each other.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that explanation. Are there any more questions, members? If not, did you propose?
No, Chairman, I haven't moved the recommendations. I do so now, and I've got nothing further to say. It is a very, very important piece of work, and I'm just sorry that we have to jump through all these hoops to get it sorted.
Exactly. Thank you. So, are you? Thank you very much. Then I've got Councillor Hodgson who would like to comment. Move to the debate, please. Not Councillor Hodgson, Councillor Pearce, please. Sorry.
Oh, right. You're confusing me with Councillor Hodgson now. That's interesting.
Well, I got your name here, I believe. Is that right?
No,
I'm not sure.
Right, no.
Yes, I have. Right.
Yes, the question about fly tipping is very relevant, actually, because it has always struck me as an anomaly that the county council is the disposal authority, and because the county council charges for trade waste, if you take it to the tip, people fly tip trade waste, but it's the district councils that have to pay to get that cleared up, and then no doubt have to pay to take it to the county site to dump it there. So it does seem really, really unfair that it maybe is something that needs sorting out. I don't know whether it can be sorted out, but I think it's a national problem. And we'll come on to some more national problems in a minute, no doubt. But yeah, so just something for thought, food for thought for Councillor Baldry and Jane Savage.
And if I may say, Leader, I shall now put that one on the list of why I am in favour of unitary council.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Councillor Bazil.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, just to say that I appreciate that it's a very long document and it's a lot of hoops and hurdles that one has to jump through. But I do think it's, you know, waste, rubbish and rubbish collection, rubbish disposal is a massive part of what will be our approach to the climate change action and biodiversity action, and indeed the building back better. And I'm just incredibly disappointed that we haven't been, that neither the county council slowly can be dragged kicking and screaming to do it, to try and come up with a similar scheme in every single district that collects the rubbish. What they should do is they should have said right from the start that every single council has got to have the same scheme for collection, which would have helped massively. They do it in Wales, and not surprisingly, Wales has the highest recycling rate anywhere. And just disappointed that central government hasn't indeed forced that as well. There are some movements, but not many. It always reminds me that we were many years ago, we were the dirty man of Europe, until some of the European directives, including the landfill directive, caused us to have a closer look at how we dealt with rubbish, and that's when we started
the east of Riding of Yorkshire is already on 64.8% recycling. Yeah, it sounds pretty sort of like trite perhaps to some people, but actually people love it and they make a really good job of it. And it's a very important part of our action plan as well, our climate emergency action plan. So I just think that we should be making, if we're going to make a contribution to in response to this, I think it has to really look at those recycling rates and expect that we could perhaps look at 75% as a minimum, and also that we put back money to those local voluntary organisations that are still there, and I think they just need revitalising. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hodgson. Councillor Panel, please.
Yes, I'd just like to raise the issue of commercial waste collection. I'm heartened to see in the report that, or in the document, that Exeter has started recycling commercial waste for some elements. Things that spring to mind are, for example, pubs not being able to recycle the bottles they have as waste because their commercial waste is all collected as one. Florist shop, for example, where a large amount of the waste is green material or cardboard, again not being able to recycle this. How far are we going and how quickly are we going to try and address this issue? Because our businesses produce an awful lot of waste, much of which could be recycled.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm not sure who's going to answer that question. Anyone? Jane, would you like to attempt to answer it?
Yes, so thank you, Chair. So the strategy does include for encouraging and enabling greater commercial waste recycling. And I think there's two parts to this as well. So overall, it's one thing having a strategy, but it's another thing having that capacity within local authorities. So not all local authorities within Devon do collect commercial waste. It is certainly something that South Hams are reviewing right now to see how we can increase the capacity for recycling within the commercial waste collections. I'm not sure if that's answered your question, but if you've got something more specific, then I can expand on that.
Well, I just think there needs to be a will to step up our efforts to try and. I know we're considering it, but I think we need to introduce it, and I think we need to find answers. As other people have said, so much of this material at the moment is going to landfill or to other places where it shouldn't, and it can be reused. And I think we need to be looking at that as hard as we can.
Yep, I totally agree, and that is part of our review of commercial waste services.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Jane. Councillor Bolger, you did have your hand up, but was that?
Only to say, I was going to come in at the end and sum up, so I wasn't going to ask.
Would you like to sum up? Would you like to sum up now, then, please, and then we'll move to the vote. Thank you.
I thank members for their contribution. I congratulate those who have managed to read the report. I think it is an excellent document, and there's a great deal of good stuff in it. And some of the points which have been made by Councillor Hodgson, Councillor Brazil and Councillor Panel, I would suggest that they may want to put those points into the consultation. Councillor Hodgson especially said about increasing the recycling rate to 75%. As it has been said in a previous debate, it's all very well having aspirations, but we need ideas of how to achieve it. So perhaps Councillor Hodgson might be able to do that. And the Devon County Council funding of schemes and so on is a matter surely for Devon County Council to find the money for, and not for this district council. And I think I just spotted that Councillor Hodgson wanted to say something before I finalise.
If I may, Chair, I just wanted to ask when the consultation is due in. I mean, I'm on page 174 so far, and I still haven't found when you have to send the comments in. And just to say, Daswick that I referred to, Councillor Baldry, actually does include the district councils.
Yeah, go. We've got to get approval from all districts and from Torbay to go out for the consultation first. And Jane can tell you when it should be back by, but it is going to come back finally in June, is it not? Jane?
So Thank you, Councillor Baldry. Yeah, there has been a slightly delay getting it through the different councils. So it has been delayed slightly because we were expecting it to go back to DASWAC in February. That's not now going to happen. So I think you're quite right. It probably will be the June DASWAC it comes back, in which case it will come back into this council during the early summer.
I suspect I think it'll be coming to our May meeting, won't it?
Mm. So we haven't got the dates,
hopefully.
the exact dates of the consultation yet. Sorry, Chair.
Thank you. No, well, our May meeting could well be our annual council meeting. With a bit of luck, we may even get back to the council chamber. Who knows? So, Councillor Baldry, do you wish to add anything further?
No, I've nothing further to say now.
Okay, so then in that case, we will move to the vote. So, Mr. White, could you proceed with the vote, please?
Thank you very much, Chair. So parts 1 and 2 as per the screen, members. Councillor Abbott.
4.
Councillor Austin.
4.
Councillor Baldry.
4.
Councillor Bastone.
4.
Councillor Birch.
4.
Councillor Brazil.
4.
Councillor Brown.
4.
Councillor Chown.
4.
Councillor Foss.
4.
Councillor Hawkins.
4.
Councillor Hodgson.
4.
Councillor Holway.
4.
Councillor Hopwood.
4.
Councillor Jackson.
4.
Councillor Kemp.
4.
Councillor Long.
4.
Councillor Mckay.
4.
Councillor Callaghan.
4.
Councillor Pannell.
4.
Councillor Pearce. Councillor Pearce.
Apologies
Try again.
for.
Councillor Pennington.
4.
Councillor Pringle.
4.
Councillor Reeve.
4.
Councillor Joseph Rose.
4.
Councillor Rosemary Rowe.
4.
Councillor Smurden.
4.
Councillor Spencer.
4.
Councillor Sweet.
4.
Councillor Taylor.
4.
And Councillor Thomas.
4.
Thank you, members. That one is therefore unanimously approved. And we'll move on to item 10, Chair.
Thank you very much. Members, I'm aware that it's going on towards 4 o'clock and we've got quite a bit on the agenda as yet. Would you like to take a short break now or deal with item 10 and take a short break then maybe?
Yeah.
Advice quickly, please.
Yeah, I agree with that. One more item and then a break.
Good idea. Yeah.
Deal with this item and then have a break. Can't imagine this will take overly long.
Well, yes, famous last words. We'll deal with item 10 and then we'll take a 10-minute break. Okay, so item 10 is the annual review of the health and safety policy statement on page 161 and of the agenda papers, and the leader, Councillor Pearce, is going to introduce the report. Councillor Pearce, please.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. This one is pretty quick, I think. The annual, well, in the title it says it comes to us annually for any changes. Now I understand the only change this year is the description of SRT, because we're very fortunate to have a new chief executive, and also Chris Brooke and Drew Powell have joined the senior leadership team, so that's noted in the report. But I understand there are no further changes, so that's all there is, Chairman. If there are any questions, I'll answer them, but if not, I'll propose the recommendation straight away.
Thank you. And members, do you have any questions, please, on item 10? Nope. Okay, Councillor Pearce, you can move the recommendation.
I move the recommendation. Do I have a seconder?
Yes, I'll second.
Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, no reason why I shouldn't have a look.
Wait, I just showed you.
Why show me the meeting?
So does anyone wish to make any comments or whatever, or shall we move straight to the vote? No. So shall we'll move straight to the vote then, Mr. White. Thank you.
I think with your agreement, Chair, due to the lack of questions and debate, if we take this by exception, so therefore any members not willing to accept the recommendation indicate in the chat box, please.
makes sense, Mr. White. Yes, are you happy, members, to? We're all in favour?
Chair, I don't think anyone's typing in the box to say they don't agree with the recommendation. So therefore, I think we can accept that as unanimous approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. So now, shall we take a 10-minute break and be back at 4 o'clock, please?
Yes, please.
Restart the recording, please.
Yes, Chair, I've just pressed go. It's just taking a second to connect.
Thank you.
Chairman, Councillor Sweet has her hand is still raised. You've got a residual hand, but I guess if she's not on the call, then she can't drop it down.
No, I can't see that.
No.
Okay, go ahead. We'll restart the meeting now. So we'll move on to item 11, which is questions on notice. And 4 questions have been received. And the first question, response to be given by Councillor Baldry, and then to invite Councillor Brazil to ask a supplementary question. And then Councillor Baldry will provide a response. Thank you.
Thank
Councillor
you,
Baldry.
So in answer to Councillor Brazil's question, as I said at the executive meeting when this was discussed, the permit charge changes are not designed as a fundraiser. They are designed to ensure fairness and transparency by linking them to the pay and display charges in the area, and they are not there to raise additional income. We also hope to increase the turnover of vehicles within a number of council-owned off-street car parks. It is anticipated that a new permit pricing structure may lead to a change in people's parking habits, possibly with fewer permits being purchased, possibly by up to 15%. For these reasons, there has been no additional income built into the future year's revenue budget for 2021-22, as although the prices will increase, demand is predicted to reduce, and therefore the overall income in 21-22 is predicted to be the same and have a cost-neutral impact on the budget. That's all. Chairman, I think you're muted.
Councillor Brazil, would you like to ask a supplementary question?
Supplementary question, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Baldry.
Can I just add, even though I've not got a supplementary, that I recognise, and this is a personal view, that Councillor Brazil is doing the very best for the people he represents, and I hope that goes on to votes in the future election.
Thank you. Thank you. Question 2, the response to be given by the leader, and then I will invite Councillor Brazil if he wishes to ask a supplementary question. Councillor Pearce, please.
Thank you, Chairman. The total government business grants paid to self-catering accommodation is £13.265 million. When the first round of business grants of £10,000 and £25,000 were announced by the government in March 2020, the council lobbied the Treasury for second homes to be excluded from eligibility of these grants. It didn't seem fair that second homes that were paying council tax were still contributing to the cost of local services through paying their council tax, and yet those second homes that were business rated through the business rates loophole of being able to be business rated if they were available to let for more than 140 days were eligible for grants of £10,000 and in some cases £25,000. The council held off paying these grants for a couple of weeks until a response was received from the Treasury, whose view was that they were eligible and therefore the council had no choice but to pay these grants, as we were responsible for administering a government business grants scheme. The same issue has happened in November 2020 when the second round of business grants was announced due to the second national lockdown in November 2020. I, myself, as chair of the Devon Districts Forum, wrote a detailed letter to the Right Honourable Alok Sharma MP, Secretary of State for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, which had the support of all 8 Devon MPs and Devon County Council. Self-catering holiday accommodation or in second homes were eligible for a local restrictions support grant of £1,334 or higher for the lockdown period. The point was made that it was inherently unfair for these types of self-catering holiday lets, second homes, to receive further public money when November is the lowest month of the year for holiday lettings income, and many of these single households would have had no rental income in November in a normal year. Unfortunately, no response has ever been received from the Secretary of State from BIS or the co-director of BIS, and these properties remain eligible for the government grant. The council has lobbied the government to close the business rates loophole on multiple occasions. Our county has a large proportion of second homes, and many of these have taken advantage of the current business rates tax loophole, which allows second homeowners to avoid paying any council tax or business rates on their properties. Currently, owners of second homes can apply to the Valuation Office to register their domestic properties for business rates if their property is available to let for a minimum of 140 days a year. If registered for business rates, a large proportion of these properties qualify for small business rates relief and are eligible for 100% small business rate relief, and this in turn means they have no business rates to pay. As leader of the council, I have highlighted this problem to the Treasury at the highest level by personally giving evidence to the Treasury Select Committee in the summer. The council has also lobbied vigorously on this issue through providing evidence to the Government Business Rates Review and through the council's response to the Comprehensive Spending Review. We've lobbied through the District Council's network, and our Chief Executive has lobbied through the LGA and other national bodies on the inequity of the current system, and in turn, their response to the recent national consultations on the Business Rates Review and the Comprehensive Spending Review have also lobbied the government to change the current system. The Business Rates Review conducted by the government is due to publish its results in the spring of 2021, and we remain hopeful that this issue will be addressed in the future overhaul of the business rates system. That's the end, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce. Councillor Brazil, do you have a supplementary question, please?
Yeah, no, I was just saying I missed that. I don't know if Councillor Pearce could repeat it. No, it's only a joke. That's a joke. Yeah, no supplementary question. Thank you.
Thank you. So therefore, we'll move on to question 3 with a response to be given by the leader from a question asked by Councillor Brazil. Councillor Pearce again.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Chairman. As stated in section 4.14 of the Executive Report on the draft revenue budget proposals for 2021-22, an average Band D council tax bill in the South Hams for 2021 is £1,990.82. This is made up as follows: £170.42 for the South Hams District Council share, 9%, £1,439.46 for Devon County Council, 72%, £221.64 for the police, 11%, £88.24 for the fire contribution, 4%, and £71.06 for an average parish or town precept, 4%. That precept, however, hides a multitude of variances. The most expensive parish precept is Totnes, with a Band D of £181.61, which is £11.19 higher than the South Hams precept on a Band D, giving an overall Band D council tax bill in Totnes of £2,101.37. The lowest precept from a parish is Woodley Parish, with a Band D precept of £4.96. Well done, Woodley. Giving an overall Band D council tax bill of £1,924.72.
Yeah, no supplementary. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And we will then move on.
I think question D has already been answered.
Sorry,
in the first.
Pardon?
You're
okay, are you? You're not...
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I haven't got a supplementary. I was just going to say, I think question D has been answered during question B.
Previously.
No, it hasn't. But...
Oh, okay. No, I'll wait then. I'll hear an answer.
Right.
Okay, so we'll then move on to item 12 then, motions on notice. We received 4 motions and the first one is from Councillor Hodgson and Councillor Rose. So Councillor Hodgson, would you simply move your updated motion as outlined on the screen, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. So moved.
And Councillor Rose, would you like to second it?
Seconded, Chair. Thank you.
And then Councillor Hodgson, would you like to introduce your motion, please?
Yeah, actually, there's a word missing in that. There's a word missing in that amendment. And the word is our. And it's as our. Hang on, whereas we agree to reach. This council therefore commits to reviewing and aligning our other plans and policies. So can that just be inserted, please? So I'll speak at the end. I'll let other people speak.
Okay. So you want another word inserted in the item?
I've just done it, Chair. So
you've done it right. Fine.
I'm just highlighting, just highlighting it.
Thank
there.
you. That's fine. So
yeah,
you don't wish to speak again. And Councillor Rose at the end. And Councillor Rose, do you wish to speak now or later?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm happy to speak on this. I mean, we've spoken about this quite a lot, and including with the Chief Exec and various other places, and it really seems that this motion shouldn't be contentious with this wording. There was a little bit of legal issues because there are some plans which can't be reviewed. We don't have the power to review, like the JLP. So with this wording, which basically just says we should be looking at our plans and policies to update them in accordance with the Climate and Biodiversity Action, in my understanding, this is something which is going to happen anyway. So in some ways, I'm getting feedback. In some ways, I think this motion is just happening anyway, so perhaps it's not even necessary. But what it does do is it sends a really clear message to the public, and for that reason, I think this is a really strong motion, because it will show that what we're doing behind the scenes that members of the public can't see is in alignment with our plans. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Actually, I'm losing contact, but I'll keep going. Hopefully I'll be okay. The next person who would like to speak, please. There's
no current other speakers, Chair, in the box.
Fine, thank you. So, Councillor Hodgson, would you like to continue?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I think actually, thank you, Joseph, for seconding in this, and thank you for, explaining really where this is coming from and saying, yeah, naturally, it would actually mean that we would automatically be doing this. It's just really just a commitment to make sure that we do. There's always a danger, especially with kind of relatively new pieces of work that, while I think this is kind of mainstream now, but actually, 2 or 3 years ago, it was something that wasn't even on the table. I think it's just an important thing to realise that we don't want it to just be a really interesting piece of work that we've done, but it sits in kind of its own silo. It's to make sure that we look at the breadth of this. And as we were talking earlier about the recycling plans, we need to look at our action plan in terms of that waste plan that's come forward. So it's making sure that we actually embed the work right across, because it's the only way that realistically we're actually going to reduce our carbon footprint and enhance our biodiversity, because those two elements actually reach into so much of all the other work that we do, and it's an important consideration. So thank you. I hope people will support the amended version of the motion.
Thank you for that. Councillor Pearce, you would like to speak?
Yes, Chairman, I would, because I'm hoping we can all support this. I think Councillor Hodgson is absolutely right. This needs to be just embedded in everything we do across the council, to the extent that maybe we don't actually take too much special notice of it because we're already doing it. Now, I think we've got a way to go before we get to that point, but that's how it needs to be in the end. So I thank her for bringing this forward, and I'm happy to support it.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Does anyone else wish to add any comments, or are you happy for us to move to the vote?
Chair, there's nobody else in the chat box.
Thank you, Mr. White. So shall we move to the vote, please?
Thank you, members. So the revised motion as per the screen, members. Councillor Abbott.
For.
Thank you, Councillor Austin.
For.
Thank you, Councillor Baldry.
For.
Councillor Bastone.
For.
Councillor Birch.
For.
Councillor Brazil.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Chown.
For.
Councillor Foss.
For.
Councillor Hawkins.
For.
Councillor Hodgson.
For.
Councillor Holway.
For.
Councillor Hopwood.
For.
Councillor Jackson.
For.
Councillor Kemp.
For.
Councillor Long.
For.
Councillor Callaghan.
For.
Councillor Pannell.
For.
Councillor Pearce.
For.
Councillor Pennington.
For.
Councillor Pringle.
For.
Councillor Reeve.
For.
Councillor Joseph Rose.
For.
For.
Councillor Rowe. Councillor Rowe.
For.
Thank you, Councillor Smurden.
For.
Thank you, Councillor Spencer.
For.
Councillor Sweet.
For.
Councillor Taylor.
For.
And Councillor Thomas.
For.
Thank you, members. That is therefore unanimously approved. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We then move on to item 12B, which is on the screen before us, and I would invite Councillor Hodgson simply to move her updated motion, please.
Thank you.
Councillor
Yes, so
Hodgson?
I so move the motion. I move the motion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Seconded.
And then Councillor Rose, would you like to second this motion?
Yeah, seconded. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So Councillor Hodgson, would you like to introduce your motion at this present time?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, this has really come from the planning reforms that were proposed just a few weeks, well, a couple of months ago now, that I know out at the meeting that we had with, I think it was in September, with planning officers from who've been to get put together the JLP. I've never seen such a strong response from planning officers, you know, to a government proposal. And I think the two sets of proposals, the white paper and the proposals with housing numbers, I think pose a real problem for potentially for South Hams. I mean, the algorithms and all the rest of it that are sort of sitting there amongst them are just kind of just national adding up and taking away and just putting where they think here, then everywhere. And what we don't have in this area, in not only my view, but the view of people I've spoken to about this, because I don't know about other people, but my inbox was full of all sorts of comments from the public, and none were in favour of those reforms. And what they were saying was that, you know, we haven't really got the protection. And I think, you know, so I've spoken to Richard Gage at length about this over the last few months anyway, before even the reforms came through, about how we could look at some of the protection in areas where we've got some wonderful catchments. But the catchment, for example, with the Dart, it's one part of it is in the AONB, one part of it is in the National Park. But there's a big gap where there's no protection at all. And if we're going to look at consistency and real support to make sure that we have a consistently well protected landscape, then we need to have capacity in the planning department. And so one thing that I'm aware of is that we don't really have enough. I mean, our planning officers are very overworked anyway. So this has come forward really to say that we should be putting more conservation officers into the planning team so that they can look at some of these opportunities for conservation areas and appraisals to be covered and brought up, and where they're coming in from the community to be hopefully appraised and approved, so that we can actually get a much more comprehensive and joined up thinking approach to how we have our areas of outstanding beauty and our conservation areas protected across the South Hams. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Rose, do you wish to speak now, or do you want to reserve your right to speak later?
I would like to reserve my right to speak later, please, Chair.
Councillor Rose, I couldn't hear you.
Apologies, Chair. I would like to reserve my right to speak a little later, please.
Thank you. Thank you. So, members, I will open it up to debate. Who would like to speak on this item? Councillor Pearce, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Several things on this one. First of all, yesterday, MHCLG updated the planning policy guidance to revise the housing numbers that were not part of the white paper consultation. They were actually an earlier consultation in the summer. The result for South Hams is that the housing numbers approved in the JLP stand and will not be changed. So we don't have any worries on that front. The JLP and legislation, indeed, because there is legislation, gives considerable protection to conservation areas. Now, Councillor Hodgson mentioned the white paper and the excellent response that was done, and I have it on authority from MHCLG that it was in fact one of the best responses received to the white paper in its detail and in its clarity and in the soundness of what it was saying. They didn't particularly like what it said because it didn't say what they wanted to hear, but they did recognise it as being a very good response. Now, to move on to the motion, I have a lot of sympathy for this because Richard Gage will know that I'm really keen on conservation and preserving heritage assets, both designated and non-designated. But I think when we're talking about conservation areas, choosing the dart actually is not terribly appropriate because conservation areas mainly deals with buildings, historical buildings and things, and not with things like rivers. So I think I understand where Councillor Hodgson's coming from. Now, I think it would be far more appropriate, rather than passing a motion saying that we're going to employ more people in the council, it would be far more appropriate for a review to be carried out of the capacity of the planning team, and in particular the conservation officers. And I understand that if that isn't going on at the moment, then it's on the slate to be done very, very soon. And on that basis, I would like to propose an amendment. And I think that Darryl has that amendment. So, Darryl, are you able to put that up to amend what's on the screen at the moment?
I've put it up now, Leader.
Thank you.
Okay, so you wish to propose the amendment?
Well, I do. Yes,
And you
okay.
need a seconder?
Yes, okay. That's all up. I thought it was going to come up as changes to what was up on the screen. I beg your pardon. Yeah, I'd just like to explain it first, if I may, Chairman.
Fine, thank you.
Right, to encourage timely conservation area appraisal. Now, it's my understanding that there are very, very few planning departments that now have the capacity for officers to do conservation area appraisals themselves, and that the usual process is for local groups, rather like neighbourhood planning, to write their own conservation area appraisals. There are enough exemplars around the district for them to see what they're meant to be doing, and for them to write one, illustrate it and all the rest of it, and then get an officer to check it and comment on it and pull it into shape if necessary. But my experience is that local groups are as good at doing this as anybody else because they know their local area very well. The council will always comply with its statutory obligations when making decisions relating to designated and non-designated heritage assets. And I think I think we've all come to realise over the last 10 or so years that non-designated heritage assets actually are important. They don't attract the same protection of designated heritage assets, but they are vitally important to our built heritage. As I say, I would like to commend that we only seek to encourage, because I don't think it is members' job to enter into the operational side of actually how many people are employed by the council. I feel it's much better for the head of department to assess the need and the capacity that he requires to carry on business satisfactorily. And that in turn will depend on the resources that the council can afford to, although planning is largely self-supporting. And so we may have enough heritage applications coming in to support another officer. But I think the right way of doing that is for a proper examination of and a proper review of what we actually need to take place before we commit ourselves. So I am proposing this amendment, and I would like a seconder, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder, please?
Chair. Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Holway. Okay, so then I've got Councillor Joseph Rose. Do you wish to speak now or later?
Thank you, Chair. Wow, I feel like I'm speaking a lot in this meeting. I don't disagree with anything that Councillor Pearce just said. I would like to see more conservation officers, but I don't disagree with the notion that really what we need to be saying is that we have a need, and that therefore then there's logistical decisions about how that need is assessed and delivered. I think the point that I do just really want to bring in, and I really appreciate Julie, Councillor Pearce, that all of us in this council, I'm no doubt, we love this area and we want to protect this area because of the incredible resource of our natural environment here. For me, I have a kind of interesting relationship with conservation in the same way that I have it with sustainability, because over the last 100 years, we've seen something like a 90% decline in natural space. We've seen, over 50% biodiversity loss. What we have now is already incredibly degraded. So when we're talking about conservation and sustainability, we're not even scratching the surface of what needs to happen. What we have to be doing now is regenerating. Now, I'm fully aware that to get from A to Z, you have to go through all the other letters, and this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. But wherever we can conserve and protect and encourage sustainability, it is just going to be the first essential step in order to stop the rot, stop the degeneration, even if it's in advance of regeneration. So I don't mind how it happens. All I'm saying is that I really support anything we can do to protect our environment, and I know that this is contentious. I know that we all want to do that, and so even if this motion is accepted, great. If not, then I'd just be really hopeful that, as Councillor Pearce has suggested, we'll be looking at other ways to do this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Sweet.
Thank you, Chair. I am slightly confused by the first and second amendments to the original motion. I would like to ensure that there is some full staff capacity to fully protect designated and currently non-designated wildlife corridors and green open spaces within more sort of urban areas. I mean, my understanding is that the area of outstanding natural beauty and the conservation areas have pretty significant protection, and when larger scale applications come up, then resources, staff resources would be directed to them. I mean, I also feel sort of concerned about the little kind of, nitpicky areas where perhaps there is, applications for 1 or 2 dwellings. And those are the areas that, local families and local communities really connect with, the areas where we have sort of small biodiversity, where we have sort of hedgehogs and badger sets and things kind of within more urban environments. So I would, I was just a little bit confused between the wording of those first or second amendments as to whether they fully incorporated those currently non-designated wildlife green areas within within neighbourhood plans, because obviously some areas have their neighbourhood plans completed and some don't, and that, you know, those spaces are really important to our community. So if yeah, probably Councillor Hodgson and Councillor Pearce could clarify those points for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we, Councillor Smurden, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I was meant to be a bit confused because looking at the last few sentences of the motion, I obviously mistakenly assumed that this was relating to conservation areas within towns and villages, the built environment. I have to say I didn't realise. To be honest, I couldn't recite conservation area rules. I don't know how they apply to you know, the wider landscape as to what Councillor Hodgson was talking about with regard to the dart, etc. What I do know is that with regard, we've just had the Glover review into the future of and the management of national parks and AONBs. Part of that review deals with the possibility of extending these AONBs or parks, and the possibility of creating new ones. And also out of that is also likely to come the National Landscape Service, which possibly might be another quango, but the government seemed very keen to bring forward the National Landscape Service. So I would have said that when all that happens, that's where the type of conservation with regard to the wider landscape will occur. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Smurden. Councillor Hodgson, with your permission, I'm going to ask Councillor Thomas to speak next. He's got a question which you might be able to answer after he's spoken. I'm not sure, but I'll ask Councillor Thomas to speak next. Okay, Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Chairman. It's actually more a question for the leader, I think, really. When the leader was speaking, she spoke about the operational nature of this issue and Mr. Weimer and development management's role in this. So my question to her is that the amendment on the screen doesn't actually make any reference to a review of capacity around specialist officers on conservation, which I think she was referring to in her original comments. So I was wondering whether the amendment would actually have anything to say about that, whether the council seeks to encourage a review of development management capacity around this issue, so we can actually see what the situation is moving forward around conservation officers and their capacity at South Hams. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask Councillor Pearce to answer that question then, please. Councillor Pearce.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Thomas. I can answer that question. I think my point was that the original was kind of saying we are going to employ more people. Now, my version says, yeah, we'll make an appraisal and we will fulfil our statutory obligations, because heritage is a statutory obligation, and that therefore if we need more capacity we will employ it. But if you like, because it's operational, it's up to the head of planning to decide what capacity he needs in his department and what the budget will allow, rather than council telling him that he's got to employ more people. That's my point.
Thank you for that explanation. So now, Councillor Hodgson, if you would like to speak, and perhaps you would like to write a reply to close the debate. So, Councillor Hodgson.
Well, it isn't actually my right of reply to finish this debate, because this is actually an amendment after mine.
Well, then
so
we will vote on the amendment.
But I'm happy to. I did actually want to speak on this amendment, if I may.
Carry on.
Yeah, the issue that's really arisen, that's kind of suddenly came into kind of close focus some months ago, was through the work of the Dartington Neighbourhood Plan, and we have the advantage of a new parish councillor who actually is a conservation officer. She's come from another place and she's just joined the parish council, like lovely people do, you know, just to come along and support their local area. And looking at the neighbourhood plan, was quite surprised that we weren't looking at somehow been able to protect some of the hamlets. Dartington has, I think, 13 hamlets, and as many of us will know, many of them kind of fall into very much the chocolate box kind of style, and are fabulous, and they're not protected. They're really not protected. So, and the comparison was made, and this is why I brought the Dart into it, was because actually Totnes as a town has a big conservation. There's a lot of conservation appraisal work has gone on there. So there is quite a contrast between, you know, what do we want to protect and what deserves protection and how do we do it. And when this question started to be raised, it became very clear, and it's not for me or appropriate for me to make any comments regarding to any conversations I've had with any of the officers, but it was very clear that this was found that it was not going to be possible to do this through the neighbourhood plan work. Well, the neighbourhood plan work could do it, but in fact that there wasn't really going to be capacity at South Hams to actually respond to it. And it's so, you know, thinking about it, I mean, the South Hams, the name of South Hams obviously is because we have these hamlets all over the South Hams, so it's not just Dartington, and it's actually raised quite a lot of interesting questions and debate amongst members of the public as well as you know, councillors. So I just, you know, and I think that, you know, that's why I brought this along, because I thought, well, obviously the thing is, it's a bit similar to the one I brought in about the Green Homes Advisor. You know, if we want to make things happen, we have to build capacity in the staff, and I know that a few years ago we knocked out, as it 24% of our staff through T18, but you know, those staff are all hardworking people, and you know, we do need them, and if this is some work that we need to do now to especially to be able to really respond robustly to any proposals. And I hear what Councillor said about the updates to the planning reforms, but nevertheless they still do put us in quite a precarious position. And if we haven't got sort of, you know, proper appraisals and designations of some of the places that are really important in the South Hams, then we are going to be very vulnerable, and that's really why this matters. And this amendment of Councillor Pearce's, which, you know, I always like the word encourage, it's fabulous, but actually I think we need it a little bit more strong, and that's why I've put actually about recruiting as, you know, as appropriately trained conservation officers. You know, we've already got some, but we just need more. And I think to build our capacity, similar to what we did a few years ago with enforcement, and we're getting far better enforcement work done now because we've built the team. And so that's why I think that as much as I think this amendment is very good, I won't be voting for it, because I think the original amendment I put forward actually, you know, says what it does on the tin, or does what it would say on the tin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hodgson. Mr. White, maybe I need your advice. So are we reached the point where we should now vote on the amendment?
We are indeed, Chair. We are in the realms of the amendment that's been proposed and seconded. So we either proceed to vote on the amendment, or the alternative is if Councillor Hodgson and Councillor Rose are willing to accept the amendment, that will then fall within the substantive motion. But if they aren't, we'll be voting on the amendment, Chair.
Okay, so I will ask Councillor Hodgson and Councillor Rose if they're willing to accept the amendment, please. Councillor Hodgson, Councillor Rose.
No, I want the original, the amendment that I made, which is for me the original motion. Thank you.
Therefore, Chair, we will now be voting on the amendment as per the screens.
Fine, thank you. So can we move to voting on the amendment then, please?
Thank you, Chair. So therefore, on the amendment, members, Councillor Abbott.
Against.
Yeah, I will.
Councillor Austin.
For.
Councillor Baldry.
Against.
Councillor Bastone.
Okay.
For.
Councillor Birch.
Against.
Councillor Brazil.
Against.
Councillor Brown.
Sorry, tell me
For.
again.
Councillor Chown.
For.
Councillor Foss.
For.
Councillor Hawkins.
For.
Councillor Hodgson.
Against.
Councillor Holway.
For.
Councillor Hopwood.
Again, for. Sorry.
Councillor Jackson.
Against.
Councillor Kemp.
Against.
Councillor Long.
Against.
Councillor Callaghan.
Against.
Councillor Pannell.
Against.
Councillor Pearce.
For.
Councillor Pennington.
Against.
Councillor Pringle.
For.
Councillor Reeve.
For.
Councillor Joseph Rose.
Against.
Councillor Rosemary Rowe.
4.
Councillor Smurden,
4.
Councillor Spencer,
4.
Councillor Sweet,
Against.
Councillor Taylor,
4.
and Councillor Thomas.
Against.
Thank you, members. That's therefore 15 votes in favour with 14 votes against, and the amendment is therefore declared carried and is therefore the substantive motion, members. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we proceed to vote on the substantive motion. Is that correct?
That's correct. Thank you, Chair. So members, on the substantive motion as per the screens, Councillor Abbott.
Against.
Councillor Austin.
4.
Councillor Baldry.
4.
Councillor Bastone.
4.
Councillor Birch.
4.
Councillor Brazil.
4.
Councillor Brown.
4.
Councillor Chown.
4.
Councillor Foss.
Abstain.
Councillor Hawkins.
4.
Councillor Hodgson.
4.
Councillor Holway.
4.
Councillor Hopwood.
4.
Councillor Jackson.
4.
Councillor Kemp. Councillor Long.
4.
Councillor Callaghan.
4.
Councillor Pannell.
4.
Councillor Pearce.
4.
Councillor Pennington.
Abstain.
Councillor Pringle.
4.
Councillor Reid.
4.
Councillor Joseph Rose.
4.
Councillor Rosemary Rowe.
4.
Councillor Smurden.
4.
Councillor Spencer.
4.
Councillor Sweet.
4.
Councillor Taylor.
4.
And Councillor Thomas.
Abstain.
Thank you, members. That is therefore 25 votes in favour with 1 against and 3 abstentions, and that motion is therefore declared carried. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So now we move on to C, which is a motion by Councillor Brazil and Councillor Baldry. So Councillor Brazil, would you simply like to move your motion, please?
Yes, Chair, happy to move the motion.
And Councillor Brazil, would you be able to second this motion, please?
Will you let me do it, Chairman, please? Formally second the amended motion.
Thank you very much. And then I've got Councillor Brazil would like to introduce his motion, please. Councillor Brazil?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I'm not quite sure how to do this, but I've just made a slight amendment to the motion because you would have seen that it's already had an effect on government, and government has now decided not to force us to build the many houses at the moment. So in this particular round of planning reform, so I've amended it so that it would apply to if they do try and force us to increase numbers at a later stage. So that's I'll leave it there at the moment. You'll see it's changed. The first word I've taken out the and put any, and then I've taken out proposed by the government's planning reforms. So those are the minor amendments that I've made in order to make this more relevant as it stands from the change of heart yesterday.
Thank you. Councillor Baldry, do you wish to speak now or reserve your right to speak later?
I would like to speak later, if I may, Chairman.
Thank you. So I will open it up for debate. Has anyone any questions or anyone who wishes to ask comment, please?
Yes, I would, Councillor Pennington. I think this is
Councillor Pennington, welcome.
Sorry? I think this is
carry on.
I think this is an excellent motion, and I shall be fully supporting it. bring it back to local issues.
Thank you. Is that all you wish to say?
No?
Is that all you wish to say, Councillor Pennington?
Yes.
Thank you. Then I will ask Councillor Pearce. She has got her name down to speak. Councillor Pearce, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I was hoping actually that Councillor Brown was going to put his name up, but he hasn't yet. So, perhaps he can speak up. Well, he can speak later. Yes. Yeah, this has rather been overtaken by the news yesterday. I don't think yet more of our countryside is going to disappear under concrete. I think it's very true of the first time round proposed housing numbers were actually so preposterous that I never ever got excited about them, because I thought they just can't do this to us, because we actually don't have sites to build that number of houses a year. And that has been proved right. We are back to where we were. We are back on the numbers that we have now in the JLP. And so I don't think there's any danger for the foreseeable future. I think there will be planning reforms, but then the planning reforms will not impose extra numbers on us, because those numbers will stand until we need to review them. Now, I do have a problem with the council, with this motion saying that this council will challenge the government by way of judicial review, because, first of all, I don't think a judicial review by one district council would actually get very far, and besides which, we could not legally actually do it as this council. We would have to have Plymouth City Council and West Devon Borough Council join us, because we have a joint local plan and our housing number is considered as one. In fact, at the last meeting of the JLP board on Monday, we had the housing review figures for the past year presented at that meeting, and they are presented as one figure across the plan. So I would like, if I could, to ask the monitoring officer if he could confirm that that would be the situation if we were to try to have any sort of judicial review.
Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce. Yes, carry on, Mr. Fairbairn.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I mean that is the case. It is because the numbers are allocated across the plan area. We would need to involve our fellow plan makers. I think also confining ourselves to judicial review when at this particular point in time we don't have all the evidence or the basis for bringing a judicial review, perhaps not as appropriate as it ought to be. If we may at the appropriate time, should it occur, be advised that we do not have grounds for judicial review, in which case it would be inappropriate for us to take action by way of judicial review. Other avenues, of course, might well be open. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for that. May I carry on now, Chairman? Now we've got that advice.
Yes, carry on.
Thank you. Well, it's really to say that in the circumstances, I'd like to propose an amendment and strike out the words "yet more of our countryside would disappear under concrete," and then carry on. This government will challenge the government. That's all right. Strike out "by way of judicial review" and replace that by "whatever means are considered appropriate and reasonable at the time." Thank you. Yes, that's it. So that is my proposed amendment to this, and on that basis, I would be happy to support it. I don't think it's unreasonable, but I just think it's got to be right and proportionate for what we could do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Thank you. And can I ask the proposer whether he would accept the amendment too?
Councillor Bolt, Councillor Brazil.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, No, I'm afraid I won't accept the amendment. I will say that if the amendment is passed, I will support the motion, but I think it's very important at this stage that we keep it as strong and as strident as possible. What I'd like to do is, I know you've got a massive list of speakers there, Chair. I'd like to speak at the end if that's possible.
Thank you. Thank you. So, okay. I'm not quite sure where I am now, to be honest. Councillor Hodgson, you appear to have your name on the list first.
Thanks, Chairman. I think this is again similar to other motions that have come forward that they, to be frank, watered down. I mean, I think it's very good that we are able to, at this kind of time when we've got like we've kind of the shot across our bows has happened with the reforms being thrown in, but of course they haven't become legal or anything yet. And I admire Councillor Pearce's faith that perhaps, you know, where we are is actually going to be fairly secure. But I mean, to be frank, I don't trust this government. I think this government has behaved appallingly, and I think continues to do so. And I know that's a political point to make, but that's where I come from when I actually look at what's being put on the table to try and protect the people that we represent. And I think that, you know, we do have to maybe threaten with legal action. And I'm not quite sure if it's absolutely the case, but I will take Councillor Brazil's word for it that the government's position was because they spotted this amendment on this item on our agenda. So that's well done, Councillor Brazil. But even so, joking aside, I think we need to put sort of teeth on these things. When we come to these meetings and make statements, we need to have real commitments, not just kind of wording that can be you know, got around, and it's just, oh well, it's not this and it's not that, therefore we won't. You know, we become just fluffy, and that's not what I think we need to be doing at this stage, because it's too serious what's going on with housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hodgson. Mr. White, could you advise me, are we meant to be debating the amendment now, or?
We are indeed, Chair, debating the amendment, which is on the screens. Thank you.
Yes, that's what I thought. Councillor Brown, do you wish to speak on the amendment, please?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Chairman. I completely support the proposed amendments from Councillor Pearce. I think that the government has sort of suggested its course yesterday by indicating that areas like the South Hams and other rural areas will be sort of allowed to stick with the numbers that arise from the JLP. So I think this amendment does still provide the teeth necessary should we need it, but I don't think it, as Mr. Fairburn said, it's probably right to threaten a judicial review at this moment. So I will certainly support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Snowden.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yes, my comment was for the original motion, but it's been changed to whatever means are considered appropriate and reasonable at the time. First of all, you know, just this council on its own doing it, well, I think is not right. Absolutely should be the JLP group, and as far as I'm concerned, it should be done through, if anything is done, it should be done through the local government association, because there are bound to be other districts, you know, who possibly feel the same way. The other thing, everybody's gaily talking about a judicial review. I wonder whether anyone's bothered to find out how much taking the government to the High Court in a judicial review is likely to cost. You know, you put that cost, if we, just as a small district councillor is supposed to carry that cost, are we supposed to put that cost across our council taxpayers? Could be of the region of £500,000. I think we need to consider that very carefully. Thank you.
You're on mute, Chair.
Councillor Rose, do you wish to speak now or later?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to speak now. I actually had an alternative amendment, so I'd just like to seek advice as to whether I should put that forward now or if we should vote on this amendment before. And I would also like to speak on my proposed amendment.
Okay, perhaps Mr. White, you could advise us.
Thank you. Happy to, Chair. Procedurally, members, if we could deal with one amendment at any given time, And then if the amendment is declared carried or lost, that will dictate whether further amendments come. So we'll do it one at a time rather than having multiple amendments on the table at the same time. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, if I could just ask a clarifying. So if this amendment is carried, could I still add an amendment to the new amendment, to the new...
That's correct, Councillor Rose. It would then become a substantive motion which could be amended further.
In which case I would like to reserve my my comment for the point on which I can propose my amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Foss.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Much as I support Julian's thought on the very fact that we don't want masses of houses in this area or over and above what we've already agreed on our joint JLP, I'm concerned about the judicial review bit, and I think Councillor Smurden covered that quite well. It could be a very expensive way to go. So therefore, I'm more content to go with this amendment, because I mean it says there consider appropriate and reasonable. You know, I mean, it covers any type of action that we can find to take it, but it would be jointly. We could never do it on our own. I mean, we can huff and puff all we like, but we're only a little district council down the bottom of South Devon. The likelihood of us taking on the government, I think, is over and above where we can go. We need to be joined up with other groups, but I still agree with Councillor Brazil on the amount of houses. We don't need all these massive houses they were talking about, and I'm pleased to see they've gone. And if they do turn up again, that we have got means to fight the case again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I just say one thing, please?
Okay, yes, carry on, Councillor Pennington.
I think we should be looking really at principles, not just cost. Cost is, I think, is important, but principles are more important on this particular issue.
Thank you, Councillor Pennington, for those remarks. And I'm going back to Councillor Baldry. Did you speak last?
No, I didn't. Sorry, Chairman, can I make it clear I'm speaking?
You must be next and after Councillor Foss.
Yeah, I am speaking on the amendment, but I won't speak again when it comes to the substantive motion. So I'm speaking as seconder of the motion unamended. Just to say, can I just say a quick preamble? This is a very long meeting. I hope officers are noticing that the reason this is a long meeting is we do not have enough full council meetings, and there's a lesson for that when they come to rewrite the constitution. We need to have more meetings of a shorter length. I'm fed up with weasel words and wishy-washy stuff. I'm very pleased that Councillor Pennington is in the meeting because he is talking very wisely about things, which is what I've come to expect from him. This isn't about numbers. Councillor Pearce is confusing it with numbers. This is about the government white paper about reform of the planning system. And I listened to the Secretary of State yesterday, and he said he is persisting with the reform of the planning system. He has also said he is sticking to his figure of a target of 300,000 houses a year nationwide. This is about principle. It is about whether, and I don't trust Conservative MPs at all, and I don't trust this government which keeps changing its mind and telling untruths. This will mean that Conservative MPs in Westminster decide the planning policy for the nation. It takes away the right of people to speak. It takes away the need for affordable houses where development is below 40. None of that has changed. The right to be heard by the public must be maintained, and this reform will take away that right. And we've heard from our solicitor. It has been said whenever you get two solicitors in a room together, you get three different opinions. The legal advice that we have had internally from our organisation is that judicial review will have a chance of success. And a couple of members have talked about the cost of judicial review. Feelers we have put out indicates that crowdfunding would get sufficient money, because people are so incensed about this taking away the right of people to be heard on planning applications. I am against the amendment. It is wishy-washy. Let's try and be firm for a change on this council.
Thank you, Councillor Baldry. I've got quite a long list of people here who want to speak, but I'm minded that I think we should perhaps move forward and vote on this amendment as
Chairman,
it stands.
Chairman, the monitoring officer wants to come in.
Oh, I have not seen that, but I've got a list. Right, Mr. Fairbairn, would you like to advise us then, please?
Yes, Chairman, thank you very much. The point I would make is that in order to bring a judicial review, there has to be a decision, and you have to then have grounds on which to bring that judicial review. At this time, there hasn't been a decision to increase the numbers proposed by the government, and B, you haven't got the grounds for bringing a judicial review, and effectively what you are doing is predetermining a course of conduct that, if a decision was made, might well be unreasonable, or you may well be advised by council that you have no grounds to bring a judicial review, but ultimately you would have committed the council to taking that course of action. What the amendment does is preserve that opportunity, at the same time maintaining the option that if you are so advised that there is no grounds for judicial review, then you have other means by which to challenge the decision. So you may think it's wishy-washy, but in fact it's probably the option that preserves the council's position the best to take the appropriate action at the time a decision is made on increasing housing numbers. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that advice. So members, should we move to taking the vote on the amendment? Mr. White, could you advise me, please?
As it stands, Chair, we do have speakers in the comments box who have asked to speak on the amendment, but ultimately it's your call if you wish to move to the vote. But there are speakers, Councillors Brazil, O'Callaghan and Sweet, in that order, who are in the chat box, Chair.
Thank you. I will allow them to speak if they've not spoken already. Councillor Brazil, but could you not say anything, any of you, that's already been said, please? Councillor Brazil.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And like Councillor Baldry, I won't be speaking again, so I'll just get everything that I've got to say now and get it off my chest. Firstly, just from the monitoring officer's comments, obviously we won't be, from what the monitoring officer said, it's unlikely that we'll be using him as advising us of any judicial review that we do take forward. Can I remind members that it was indeed a couple of district councils that took the government to judicial review and won when it came to thresholds on affordable housing. So the idea that this is this is not, this has been tried and tested and worked before. So the idea that it won't work or is not allowed, I think, is wrong. We've said, and just to to paraphrase, I think what some government ministers, in a narrow and specific way, we have said anything but objectively assessed housing numbers. So if they come up to us with a objectively assessed housing numbers, then obviously we wouldn't come to judicial review. So I feel that that's perfectly good. I'm going to echo what some people have said before. We talk about being appropriate and reasonable, but the truth of the matter is, never certainly in my memory have we had a government like this. The words appropriate and reasonable certainly do not spring to mind. And while I'm on that, again, particularly the government in general, and specifically with Mr. Jenrick, the idea of honesty, integrity, trust, probity are hardly words that go with them. This is all the government. I appreciate that the numbers have been changed, but this is a wretched piece of legislation, and it's not just about Yeah, do you want to go? Sorry. This isn't just about the numbers. As it said, it's all about the threshold for affordable housing. It's about not, preventing local involvement in planning issues. And I feel that what the motion as it stood, it was and it may be a symbolic gesture, but it's a gesture to our residents of the South Hams that the district council is prepared to stand up and face a government that is yeah, I'm just talking, darling.
Can I stop you there, Councillor Brazil, because we're getting a lot of interference and it's difficult to hear you at times.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Carry on, but please,
yeah, sorry,
we don't.
Sorry. Yeah, what I was saying is that I think that we need to make a stand for the residents of the South Hams, regardless of political persuasion. I'm sure that there are many members of the South Hams residents who voted Conservative in good faith, and yet now find themselves appalled at the situation where a government is trying to push through planning reforms that go absolutely against everything that they believe in. And I think, as such, I would hope that members can support this motion as it stands without the amendments, because it's that we stand shoulder to shoulder with the residents of the South Hams to oppose what is basically a dictatorial government trying to take the democratic right away from local people on deciding on planning applications. Thank you.
Well said. This is about localism.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan, you're next on the list, and do you wish to say anything different than what Councillor Brazil has already said?
Slightly. I totally agree with what he's said. I have a further concern, and Mr. Fairbairn may know a bit more than me on this, but that this government has also been accused of trying to scrap judicial review itself. There's a current review going on into judicial review, which is perhaps not as independent as it might be, and I believe it was supposed to report about now. I don't know what the latest in that is, but there are fears that the government might be trying to suppress a judicial review as well, and that was something I just wanted to bring up too, unfortunately.
Thank you for that. We'll move on to Councillor Sweet. I will take you as being the last speaker, apart from I've got Councillor Hotwood and then Councillor Pearce wishes to sum up. So Councillor Sweet, do you wish to say anything that's not already been said, please?
Yes, I do. Just something very small, which I don't think's been said. It's obviously quite hard to follow on from some of the points that Councillor Brazil has just made, but I really agree. We absolutely need to be standing with residents. So it's just daily really that I kind of hear something from, whether it's somebody in Totnes Ward or through the wider district, about skylines changing, and just the housing numbers as they stand are immense, and that the housing numbers which are going to be increased through the JLP are immense. So, if that has changed, if the white paper numbers have been reduced, then that is wonderful. But there's nothing to say that they won't change again. I actually, what's my point going to be? I think, just sort of rewinding back to the very beginning of this meeting when it was referred that we were sort of had West Devon's meeting was before ours, and that we needed to stand on our own. I don't see why if we make this if we follow this motion now, that both West Devon and Plymouth wouldn't join us and wouldn't do the same. I don't know why we're thinking that we would be on our own without our JLP partners by our side. So I think we're being brave and we're kind of sticking our neck out. And even if it is just, some kind of protest, I can't imagine that we won't be, the first and last. I would imagine that our partners and then, the wider sort of Devon councils and, possibly nationally will follow us. So that's what I'd like to be considered. Thank you.
Councillor Hotwood, would you be the last speaker, please?
Thank you, Chair. I've been listening to this as it's gone forward, and I've got a little bit muddled, but I'm pretty sure that our monitoring officer, Mr. Fairbairn, said that the original motion actually was unlawful. Is that? I just want a quick yes or no to that before I continue.
Chairman, you're asking,
Mr. Fairbairn?
being asked to, as a lawyer, being asked to give a yes or no.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was trying hard.
You'll be committing yourself to a course of action for which at the moment you don't have any grounds for doing, and as such you'll be acting unreasonably and therefore open to future criticism. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's unlawful, but it's heading in that direction. And certainly, if you were to bring a judicial review based on this decision, then in my view, you would be rightly criticised by the government and the courts for doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. If I can continue. So I really don't want this motion to fail with the amendment. And my worry is if the proposers of the original motion don't accept the amendment, then the motion as it stood originally will fail, which none of us want. So I would urge them to listen to what Mr. Fairbairn has just said, so that we can vote on the amendment and get the motion through with the amendment, rather than have the motion possibly turned down full stop, because we all care about the South Hams. We all care about our residents. We all care about the future. And if we don't get part of this motion through, I will be really disappointed. So I would go back to the original proposers and ask them to rethink about accepting the amendment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Right. OK, so it's a question of where am I now with Councillor Pearce says, can she sum up on her amendment? And I've got Councillor Baldry is telling me that she doesn't have a right to do that.
Can we get a ruling on that, Chair? But as I read Rules of Procedure 12.9C, the mover of an amendment has no right to reply.
Chairman,
okay,
I'm content for us to vote on the amendment.
Thank you. Can we have
Thank you, members.
A second?
Oh, no, sorry, Chair, allow me. We can have the vote on the amendment now, Chair. We've finished the debate. We've had the proposal seconded.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that, Mr. White.
Pleasure, Chair. The amendment as per the screen, members. Councillor Abbott.
Against.
Councillor Austin.
For.
Councillor Baldry.
Against.
Councillor Bastow.
For.
Councillor Birch.
Against.
Councillor Brazil.
Against.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Town.
For.
Councillor Foss.
For.
Councillor Hawkins.
For.
Councillor Hodgson.
Against.
Councillor Holway.
For.
Councillor Hopwood.
For.
Councillor Jackson. Councillor Jackson.
So I just came out. I missed. Can I come back in a minute?
No.
Okay, I'll come back at the end. Okay. Councillor Kemp.
Yeah.
Against.
Councillor Long.
Against.
Councillor Callaghan.
Against.
Councillor Pannell.
Against.
Councillor Pearce.
For.
Councillor Pennington.
Against.
Councillor Pringle.
For.
Councillor Reeve.
For.
Councillor Joseph Rose.
Against.
Councillor Rosemary Rowe.
For.
Councillor Smurden.
For.
Councillor Spencer.
For.
Councillor Sweet.
Against.
Councillor Taylor.
For.
And Councillor Thomas.
Against.
And final call, Councillor Jackson.
Against.
Thank you. That therefore, members, it's 15 votes in favour with 14 against, and that amendment is therefore declared carried and is therefore now the substantive motion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So could we now move to taking the vote for the substantive motion then, please?
Before we do, Chair, Councillor Rose, you'll see us put a comment in the chat box, which he wishes to make a further amendment to the now substantive motion.
Right. Okay. So carry on.
Chair, Daryl, would you please help me out here by just putting what Julian had there originally up on the screen, and then I can change it from that. And this won't take long, and I really think this could potentially capture all of the views expressed and come up with something that we're all happy to support. Okay, where it says this council will challenge the government by way of judicial review, could you please replace that with this council will seek to challenge the government by way of judicial review, if possible, or in fact, if appropriate, and with the cooperation of local stakeholders, of other local stakeholders.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Pennington. Would you like me just to hold off until you finish there, Daryl, before I start to speak on this?
Sorry, can you repeat what? Sorry, so this council seeks to challenge government
by judicial. Oh no, sorry, this isn't the original, is it? Was this the original? There was a thing about buried under concrete as well, I think, in the original.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just working off this. The substantive motion is as per the screens.
Okay,
I'm working off the substantive motion now.
That's fine. This council will seek to challenge the government by judicial review.
Yeah.
If appropriate, like a comma, if appropriate. Thank you.
Yeah.
Working with other local stakeholders.
Yeah.
And then to delete all of the red that comes after that. So whatever means are considered appropriate, so that would come out. So that what's underlined currently would come out, yes?
Yep. So I've left, for the purpose of this.
Okay.
I've left the underlined bits, what would be deleted.
Thank you. I'll be quick here. I know we've been in a long meeting. The reason which I feel that what's been expressed by nearly half of this council very clearly is the desire to put a strong line down, to say something that when the government see that, they realise there are consequences. And for our constituents, our residents, to know that we are up for really standing up for them. And I think that the amendment, even though it from a kind of black and white perspective, this is basically saying the same thing. It's saying we'll take whatever appropriate, but what this is putting a harder line. It's just saying, look, we're up for going all the way. And this is also taking into consideration that we as on our own wouldn't maybe stand so much of a chance, but if this issue was to arise and we were to engage with other local councils, with the LGA, with residents, we could not just be acting on our own, we could actually be acting as a united front and actually really stand a good chance of winning. And I really agree, this is about principles, and I don't actually think this is very different from the amendment, because it's not tying us down. It's saying we'll seek to, if appropriate. So it's not saying we have to do this. So it does. But what it's clearly saying is that if we feel that it's appropriate, we're going to go for judicial review. Having the word judicial review in there shows our seriousness. And I think that that is what our residents would want to see. I hope that can be supported by everyone in this room, because I know that we want to stand up for this. And this is just a little bit of a stronger way of saying that, which could, I think, hold both sides of the debate so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have Mr. Fairbairn who wishes to give us further advice. Mr. Fairbairn, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I think I come back to what I said originally, and in order to bring a judicial review, you have to have grounds for bringing judicial review. So you have to have a decision that is either unreasonable or has not been made in accordance with the law. At this particular point in time, you don't. And in any event, you are saying what you're saying is that any increase, so an increase of 1, would cause you to trigger a judicial review, and that clearly would be unreasonable, and that would be unreasonable conduct on behalf of the authority. And so I would caution you against committing yourself to. And yes, I have, Councillor, I have read the motion. I would caution you against including any commitment to judicial review, but leaving your options entirely open. Thank you, Chairman.
that. I think we're getting bogged down here, but however, who would like to speak next? I've got Councillor Rose. You wish to come back?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I think I'm first.
Oh.
Councillor Pearce, you're really disappearing the list. Yes, Councillor Pearce, okay.
Thank you. If I wasn't allowed to come back on my amendment, then Councillor Rose isn't allowed to come back on his either. Very quickly, because I think we ought to go to the vote on this one. Two things. First of all, I think Councillor Baldry and Councillor Brazil are muddling apples with pears. This talks about the housing numbers. That was a separate consultation from the white paper, which has nothing to do with housing numbers at the moment at all. That is talking about the planning system, not housing numbers. This is about housing numbers. Now, to me, the wording, whatever means are considered appropriate and reasonable, would comprise judicial review if at the time that was the right way to go. But I think, and to include other stakeholders, we are the local planning authority. We are the only people who would be authorised to take action on this, because we are the local planning authority. And I don't know who these other stakeholders are. If we held a consultation, they could reply to us, but we are the authorised body to take action on housing numbers should we want to take any action. Chairman, I would like to pass to the vote now, please.
You're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes. Sorry about that. Yes, I think we should move to the vote now. So please, can we move to the vote?
Okay, members, the vote on the amendment as per the screen. Members on the amendment. Councillor Abbott.
For.
Councillor Austin.
Against.
Councillor Baldry.
Against.
Councillor Bastone.
Against.
Councillor Birch.
For.
Councillor Brazil.
For.
Councillor Brown.
Against.
Councillor Chown.
Against.
Councillor Foss.
Against.
Councillor Hawkins.
Against.
Councillor Hodgson.
For.
Councillor Holway.
Against.
Councillor Hopwood.
Against.
Councillor Jackson.
For.
Councillor Kemp.
For.
Councillor Long.
For.
Councillor O'Callaghan.
For.
Councillor Pannell.
For.
Councillor Pearce.
Against.
Councillor Pennington.
For.
Councillor Pringle.
Against.
Councillor Reeve.
Against.
Councillor Rose.
For.
Councillor Rowe.
Against.
Councillor Smurden.
Against.
Councillor Spencer.
Against.
Councillor Sweet.
For.
Councillor Taylor.
Against.
Councillor Thomas.
Abstain.
Thank you, members. That's therefore 12 votes in favour with 16 against and 1 abstention. That amendment is therefore declared lost. Thank you, members. So I just undo the wording and we'll revert back to what is now the substantive motion. Which I believe is that, Chairman. So that is our substantive motion.
Fine, thank you. So where are we now? Do we
are now
proceed to take
proceeding? Oh, Councillor Pannell, before you do anything, has asked if he wants to propose another amendment to the substantive motion, Chair.
Councillor Pannell?
Thank you. I'll be very brief, and I don't want to put this to the vote unless if the leader doesn't want to accept it. I'm just wondering if we can get a consensus by just inserting after by whatever means are considered appropriate and reasonable at the time, and comma, including judicial review, if appropriate, and then carrying on.
Chairman, I would not, given the advice we've had from the monitoring officer, I cannot accept that.
Okay,
Chair,
I don't.
Chairman, I'm not sure how I do this on a Teams meeting, but can I now move that the vote be taken? And do I have 5 members who would stand with me, please, to move that?
Standing with you.
I'm standing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
One
Mr.
standing.
Chairman.
Support as well.
Agree.
Thank you. So can we then move to the vote on this proposed amendment, which is the substantive motion, which is before us? Are we able to do that?
Thank you, Chair. So we are now voting on the substantive motion as per the screen, Chair.
Debated this for 1 hour and 10 minutes, and it's time we moved on. Thank you.
Councillor Abbott?
For.
Councillor Austin?
For.
Councillor Baldry?
For.
Councillor Bastone?
For.
Councillor Birch?
For.
Councillor Brazil?
For.
Councillor Brown?
For.
Councillor Chown?
For.
Councillor Foss?
For.
Councillor Hawkins?
For.
Councillor Hodgson?
For.
Councillor Holway?
For.
Councillor Hopwood?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson?
For.
Councillor Kemp?
For.
Councillor Long?
For.
Councillor O'Callaghan?
For.
Councillor Pannell?
For.
Councillor Pearce?
For.
Councillor Pennington?
For.
Councillor Pringle?
For.
Councillor Reeve?
For.
Councillor Joseph Rose?
For.
Councillor Rosemary Rowe?
For.
Councillor Smurden?
For.
Councillor Spencer?
For.
Councillor Sweet?
For.
Councillor Taylor?
For.
Councillor Thomas?
Does it look like?
That therefore, members, is 29 votes
What's
in
it
favour,
called?
which is unanimous, and that motion is therefore declared carried.
Pieces, they're
Thank
not
you, Chair.
come together.
It's just a chisel.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. White. Members, could you please, I did ask earlier on, please can you turn off your mobile phones or whatever, because there's a lot of interference going on and people are chatting at the same time as the meeting's running, and we don't need that. We've been here for 3.5 hours and we've got more business to do as yet. So we'll move on to the next motion, which is on your screen from Councillor Abbott and Councillor Birch. Councillor Abbott, would you simply like to move your updated motion, please?
I so move.
And Councillor Birch, would you like to second it?
Yes, I second the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Abbott, would you like to introduce your motion?
Thank you. We left the European Union on the 31st of January this year. The transition period will end on the 31st of December this year. We may be 3/4 of the way through a pandemic, but whether we had this challenge to society, to businesses, or to personal budgets, or we didn't, one thing is certain: 2021 will produce difficulties for all but the rich. We are yet to find out whether we are leaving with a deal, leaving with no deal, or asking for an extension to the transition. But I'll start with the good news. There will be no customs checks on imports until July 2021. That's taking back control. Therefore, we might be okay for food imports. Just as well as we import both food for processing and raw foodstuffs such as tea and carrots, and it comes to 80% of our food supplies. However, you don't build a 27-acre lorry park in Kent for no reason. Lorries not able to get out of Britain won't be there to bring back imports. Lorry drivers will prefer to work within a free trade area rather than sit in a Kent toilet park. It's even said that our wooden pallets will not pass regulations. Those of our poorer residents and those without work due to COVID have needed unusual help. Free meals for school children are only provided because one man had a conscience and influence, and a massive increase in the use of food banks. So what can we do? We're not a charity, we're a service provider. There are quite a few practical things that can be done, but I don't want to go into the detail. Let's do the principle. Southampton's District Council staff contributed much time and effort with local COVID support measures. Let us agree that staff can be allocated to identify issues and to communicate with residents. I encourage you to make available the resources we have to counter the worst excesses of the coming year. Let the officers discuss the problems and identify the opportunities where the council can help. Let us stand by our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Abbott. And members?
Can I speak? I'm seconding the motion, so.
Yes, you are. Yes, you do. You wish to speak now, or reserve your right to speak later in the debate, Councillor Birch?
As it's getting late, I will reserve the right to speak, but I will not speak if the motion is not opposed.
Okay, well, members, who wishes to speak? Councillor Hodgson, by the looks of it, you're the first one in the queue at the moment. Councillor Hodgson?
Just to say, I fully support this, and having listened to what Councillor Abbott said, I think his words are words of wisdom. So yes, I will be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smurden.
Thank you, Chair. Not wishing at this point to side on either side. A point of information, point of clarity. I think Councillor Abbott said, I believe, that we gave the impression that we import 80% of our foodstuffs. I'm absolutely certain that the figures are that we produce 60% of our own of this country's food here, and we import 40%. That is my industry. I am fairly certain of that.
Thank you. Councillor Sweet.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I totally support this. I think, through this year and through COVID, as a small business person, the effect from this year have been vastly masked by the grants and by furlough, and my gut feeling through the whole year really has been that next year is when we're going to really kind of feel the problems and feel the impact of Brexit and Brexit. And I don't think that we'll be in any kind of a recovery until at least the end of next summer. I have had a quite good little meeting with our new place manager and Chris Brooke, just very, very briefly the other day. And, I'm sure that all our senior leadership team and that our placemaker are really aware of the impact of Brexit and how it will affect businesses on every sector. However, nice to hear your figures, Councillor Smith, on sort of food imports. But I mean, in imports, we rely on imports and exports on every level, on pretty much every commodity that we have. So it would just really be amazing to have that affiliation of support needed to support businesses through Brexit. And I think we will be very under-resourced staff-wise. I think we've got some excellent staff who I feel have some, great awareness and initiatives, but that they will utterly be needing support going into next year. So I really welcome this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Pearce.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm sorry, it's not a point of information. I just actually wanted to support this. I thank Councillor Abbott for having amended his original motion, because we really couldn't send people out looking for people. But if people come to us, we're happy to help them, and we can do comms on it as well, when particular problems arise. So yes, I think we're all in support of this. And of course, the council will be as helpful as it can in a situation like this, but it is within our existing resources.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce. Councillor Foss.
Yeah, I'm still here. Following on from what Councillor Peter Smurden said, he's correct on food, but I believe the biggest thing is we import a great deal more than we export in total. I did hear some figures the other day. But whatever the situation, I think Councillor Sweet said, you know, there's a lot of importing, a lot of exporting, there's going to be problems, and I shall be voting in favour of this motion.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak? If not, we will move to the vote.
Could I just put something, please? The
Yes, carry on,
the talks on a deal are still taking place. Nothing has been finalised yet. So I'm just beginning to think that this motion is a little bit, in advance of until the deal is made. I mean, these talks are going on. We do not know exactly, unfortunately, what the deal is going to be yet. The talks are going on apparently until into the new year between the parties.
I think you could be absolutely right, Councillor Pennington. Councillor Panel, you wish to speak, and then we'll move to take the vote.
Yeah, only very briefly, but as Councillor Baldry has pointed out, we don't have another full council meeting for another 3 months, which is a very long time, and an awful lot can happen to Brexit in that time. I think we need to take a decision now.
Thank you. Well, we're going to take the vote now. Mr. White, could you take the vote, please?
Thank you, Chair. Before I do, just for the public record, Councillor Reeve has now given her apologies, so there'll be 28 voting members on the call. Thank you, members.
Thank you.
Councillor Abbott?
4.
Councillor Austin?
4.
Councillor Baldry?
4.
Councillor Bastone?
4.
Councillor Birch?
4.
Councillor Brazil?
4.
Councillor Brown?
4.
Councillor Chown?
4.
Councillor Foss?
4.
Councillor Hawkins?
4.
Councillor Hodgson?
4.
Councillor Holway?
4.
Councillor Hopwood?
4.
Councillor Jackson?
4.
Councillor Kemp?
4.
Councillor Long?
4.
Councillor Callaghan?
4.
Councillor Pannell?
4.
Councillor Pearce?
4.
Councillor Pennington?
Abstain.
Councillor Pringle?
4.
Councillor Rose? Councillor Rowe?
4.
Councillor Smurden?
4.
Councillor Spencer?
4.
Councillor Sweet?
4.
Councillor Taylor?
Very tired. 4.
Councillor Thomas?
4.
Thank you, members. That's therefore 27 votes in favour with 1 abstention, and the motion is therefore declared carried. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So we now move on to item 13, which is the report of bodies. And the first one is the Development Management Committee meeting, which was held on the 9th of September. Councillor Brazil to present these minutes, and there are no recommendations. Councillor Brazil.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'm just trying to bring it up on my screen. It seems to have gone blank.
It's probably got tired.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So yeah. So pages. I'm not quite sure how we're doing the pages on here. So I've got 183 on my.
That's right.
On the
Yes.
183, 184, 185, 186, 187. So moved, Chair.
Thank you. So everyone's in agreement with that?
That's noted. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And we move on again, Councillor Brazil, the Development Management Committee for the 7th of October, page 191. And there are no recommendations.
Thank you, Chair. I'll present the minutes for the DM meeting 191, page 191, 192, 193, 194, 195, 196. So moved, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Those are the minutes approved. Thank you. We move on to C, Overview and Scrutiny Panel, which was held on the 8th of October, and Councillor Birch to present these minutes with no recommendations.
Thank you. I move the minutes of the meeting of the Overview and Scrutiny Panel held on the 8th of October 2020, page 199, page 200, page 201, page 202, page 203, page 204. I so move.
Thank you. Thank you. Those minutes are therefore noted. Thank you. Salcombe Harbour Board minutes on the 19th of October 2020 on page 2005, no, page 205. Councillor Brazil to present these minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. So I present the minutes of the Salcombe Harbour Board for the 19th of October, page 2,205. Feels like 2005. 206. 207, and there's a recommendation there in respect of the budget. So I propose.
That's correct, yes.
Chair, can I suggest we take that one by exception? So if any members aren't willing to support minutes SH 1320, can they indicate in the box, please?
Yes.
There's nobody seemingly typing, Chair, so I think we take that as unanimously approved and move on to SH 1520.
Okay, so the rest of 2007, 2008, and there are two recommendations here. I'll take the first one in respect of fees and charges.
Again, Chair, can I suggest we take that one by exception, the fees and charges recommendation?
Yes. Yes.
The members aren't willing to support that recommendation, if they can indicate in the box now, please. Giving it a couple of seconds, but no one seems to be typing, Chair. So that one's approved.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
And then second recommendation on 208, which is about the enforcement of bylaws, harbour directions.
Again, Chair, I think we'll take on by exception. So if members aren't willing to accept the recommendation, could they say so in the chat box?
Yes. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
And again, Chair, there's nobody typing in there, so I think that recommendation can also be considered to be unanimously approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So the rest of page 208, 209, and just to say, I'd like it on public record to give my thanks to the harbour master and the harbour staff for doing a fantastic job in difficult circumstances during the COVID. So massive thank you to them.
Yeah, thank you. I think we'd all endorse that remark. Thank you, Councillor Brazil.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So then we then move on to the executive meeting on the 22nd of October from page 211. Councillor Pearce to present these minutes, and there are two recommendations to council on page 215 and 216.
Thank you, Chairman. I present the minutes of the executive meeting held via Skype on Thursday, the 27th of October, page 211, page 212, page 213, page 214, page 215 with the recommendation going on down through the top of page 216.
Chair, if you're happy again, if we take that one by exception, so it's a recommendation E2520,
Yes.
which is the MTFS. So if members aren't willing to accept that recommendation, if they could indicate so in the chat box, please. And just for the record, Councillor Brazil is going to vote against the MTFS recommendation, Chair.
Right. Okay. That will be noted.
Yes.
Move on to the rest of 216.
Yes.
217 with the recommendation that the underspend in the play parks renewal fund should be set up for replacement equipment as required.
Once again, Chair, if you're happy, should we take that one by exception in the chat box?
Yes.
So members, we're looking at minute E2620, capital programme monitoring. If you're not, if you don't wish to accept that recommendation, if you could indicate so in the chat box, please.
No.
And
No
no one's
indications.
typing, Chair, so we take that as unanimously approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, the rest of page 217, page 218, page 219, page 220. I so move, Chairman.
Thank you.
Those are noted. Thank you, Chair.
Everybody's happy to accept those minutes?
That's
Thank
noted.
you.
Thank you, Chair.
So we move on then to the DM committee meeting on the 4th of November, page 221. Councillor Brazil, please. There are no recommendations.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to present the minutes of the DM meeting for the 4th of November, page 221, page 222, page 223, page 224, page 225. So move.
Thank you. Thank you. Those minutes are
noted. Thank you, Chair.
Noted. Thank you. We then move on to the licensing committee, which was held on the 5th of November, and page 227 of the agenda papers. Councillor Brown, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I herewith present the minutes of the licensing committee meeting held on the Thursday, 5th of November, page 227, and with the recommendation on page 228. I so move.
So again, Chair, on the recommendation L0320, if we take that one by exception, thank you, members. So if you're not willing to accept the recommendation, if we could indicate so in the chat box.
Oh, that's fine.
No one appears to be voting against, Chair, so that one's unanimously approved. Thank you.
Thank you. We approve that. Then the executive committee again on the 3rd of December, page 231 of the agenda papers. Councillor Pearce, there are no recommendations.
Yeah, but thank you, Chairman. I present the minutes of the executive meeting held on Thursday, the 3rd of December, page 231, page 232, page 233, page 234, page 235, page 236, page 237, page 238, 239, 240, 241. Gosh, it was a long meeting. And I think I've come to the end, 242, because I can't scroll down anymore. So I so move.
That's absolutely right, Councillor Pearce. That was the last page. Thank you. And those minutes are noted. Yes.
They are noted. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So I think that brings us to the end of our meeting. Thank you, members, and thank you to our staff who have joined us from time to time and have advised us as best way as they can, and hopefully we've listened to them. I'd like to wish you members all the best for Christmas and the New Year. I can't say Happy Christmas, have a good time, all the rest of it, because I know that many of us have had to curtail what we would normally do, but just stay safe, abide by the rules that we know we're meant to abide by, face, and just don't go too far unless you really have to. And I thank the staff, particularly throughout the council, for all the work they've done this year, particularly in these very difficult times. And I hope that for the next best part of 2 weeks, starting in the middle of next week, that you will be able to spend some time, that we'll just be able to be ourselves and not have to worry about council commitments all the time. And I know that you've all worked very hard, and I know members have worked hard as well. And we seem to get endless rounds of emails, people phoning us up wanting to know questions that we've never been asked before. And I think that we all deserve to take a little time out. So thank you all very much. And I now formally close the meeting. Thank you.
Well done, Rose. Merry Christmas.